everybody. My name is Jake, and welcome to Sunday Service. I'm a former Jehovah's Witness, current Norway law aficionado, and thanks so much for being here. If you've never joined us before, this is a live stream, and we just kind of hang out, talk about our old cult, my old cult that I used to be in, Jehovah's Witnesses, and sometimes I have special guests. Today is such a day, so this is very exciting. We've got some news out of Norway. They denied Watchtower's appeal to, give them their free money back after their recent changes to disfellowshipping. So we're going to go through that. We're going to go through a leaked video that Insider just released on the XJW subreddit, and a new weird video Jehovah's Witnesses released on purpose that I haven't watched yet. And I've got a couple of special guests to help me out today. First off, we've got Eric from Skeptics and Scoundrels. What's up, buddy?
Hey, Jake. Doing pretty good. How about you?
I'm doing good. Thanks so much for being here. I'm going to try and adjust my light. No, that's worse. That's way worse.
Ooh,
okay.
Yeah, I got that hard sunlight coming in from the side.
I know.
That's a no-no in lighting 101 on cameras.
Also,
Jesus.
I accidentally clicked the button a little too soon. It's Danny from XJW Caleb.
Hey everyone, good morning everybody. I'm Caleb, former ex-Jehovah's Witness, current wake and baker enjoyer.
Love it. Love to see it.
Former ex-Jehovah's Witness? Did you go back?
You're a
Yeah,
former
I went
Jehovah's
back to the Jehovah's
Oh, no.
Witness religion. I realized that y'all
Not Jake.
lying.
Or not
You'll
Danny.
be lying, and I'm an ex-Jehovah's Witness. Yeah. So I just.
Oh no, guys.
I'm an elder now. You're all this fellowship together.
We lost
Hold on, I
Danny.
need to open
Wow.
the door.
Amazing. Well, this is going to be great. We've got 3 ex-Jehovah's Witness extraordinaires. I'll say it. You don't get to throw out extraordinaire that much these days. And
Yeah,
you even got the on-brand T-shirt, Danny. You've got the
Yeah,
actual...
of course. I didn't do
shirt.
it for yesterday's live stream in my channel, but I will do it for this live stream on your channel, of course.
Oh, that's very nice. Oh, yeah.
Yesterday
Apparently,
was
we're
chilly,
double
so-
tipping.
Yeah, yesterday's chilly, and Caleb doesn't really have like layers. Like he never layers up. It's either this or like a short sleeve like blue shirt with a bow tie. Like that.
Yeah.
That's it. What does he wear in winter? Like I have to wear a hoodie, and that's it.
Wow.
Extra layers means more animation rendering time, which is money.
Oh
That's
my
a great
God.
point.
You know
Super
what?
simple.
I hadn't even thought of that, but you're totally correct. Like that's literally why they do it. Like that makes so much sense.
They've already got the set for the house in the Kingdom Hall and like
Yeah,
a
exactly.
nebulous door for out in service. Nobody knows what the hell we're talking about, and that's good. That's the way I like it. I like to filter out normies as quickly as possible. Thank you so much, by the way. We've already got super chats from Queen of Flatulence. And
We don't need new viewers. It's
who
fine.
calls us...
Yeah.
I don't sanction that comment. I would love as many new viewers as possible. But I also don't really care to cater my content any differently than I already do. So I guess I just kind of hope magically that I get new viewers without trying or putting forth much of an effort.
That's
That
what
brings
I
me
do,
to a
and,
point.
You know,
That brings me to something.
has not worked yet, but you know, I'm hoping it works soon for me.
I think
I think it's going to work.
With most things in life, the more you try, the harder you try, the less you get. So just don't try.
That's
don't worry
been
about it,
true
and
so far.
Just do your thing, and they'll come. Yeah.
I think
is
it's time for me to complain about YouTube a little bit.
Oh, happy day. All worldly complaining about YouTube.
Yeah, so normally if you're a first-time viewer, we have to do a bit of business up top. We're not going to get right into the main content. I've learned that from watching other streamers. You got to save the good stuff for, I don't know, 20 minutes in or something.
Yeah.
For the late
Retention.
people. The late people who have to sit in the back of the Kingdom Hall or right up front, shamefully, because all the other seats are taken. I don't really have that much to say. I released a video this week and it's good, and I'm going to release another video soon, and you should watch it. Oh, I do have to apologize because I said that the Bible doesn't say that there were angels singing in heaven when the earth was created, but it does. It says that in Job. That it doesn't matter, but a lot of people were upset that I
I was
implied
just about to tell you
that.
that you know I was going to be like, hey, you know, did you forget about Job? That's the
I
only
know.
reason why I came to this live stream actually.
I know. I figured that was probably why a lot of people were here to watch me try and flail out of this controversial situation I found myself in. No,
Huge
I meant to say
controversy.
Genesis.
Can't believe it.
This doesn't matter at all. You got to start the stream on Outworldly and then funnel everyone here. Oh, okay. So this is important. So I'm simulcasting. I don't know if that's the right word. I'm streaming this to both the Sunday Service live channel and Outworldly because this is about Norway and important stuff, and I do want people to know that Sunday Service exists. So if you're watching this, well, that's great. First of all, thank you. And second of all, you should subscribe to Sunday Service. There's a link in the description. I do streams every week. I don't stream every week on the main channel anymore, but I always stream on Sunday Service, and there's going to be stream highlights and stuff being uploaded there. Got someone doing editing for me. It's going to be great. Also, I think I should, I don't have an apology thing, but maybe I can do this.
Condemnation.
I condemn my comments about Job, or lack of comments about Job. I meant to say that in the book of Genesis, which, what's his name, Jacob Rumpf was talking about, that it didn't mention the angels singing. And I said I just said the Bible because I was stoned when I was recording and editing and uploading the whole time.
I forgive you, Jake. It's okay. I speak for the ex-Jehovah's Witness community as an ex-Jehovah's Witness. So I forgive you. Don't worry.
My goal is by the end of the stream, Danny, we're gonna make you an ex Jehovah's Witness. So.
Oh, I would love that.
I can't turn back. Like it reminds me
never.
Like that Michael Scott thing where he's like complaining about the vasectomy and like he's switching back and then
the snip snap.
Switching back. Exactly. Like, I'm like, no, I can't do that with my beliefs.
Oh man, can we do a little group therapy for a second? Because this week, a friend of mine, somebody who like I've known since I was a little kid, my first sleepover ever was at his house. So this was one of my best friends and I was a witness. He got disfellowshipped a couple of years before I did. And then, but like when I reached out to him to connect, he was a little like, I don't know, like a little hesitant. And I understood once I had the language for it that he was POMI, physically out, mentally in. He was out, but he never deconstructed or did any research on whether or not this religion was true. And he just went back. I saw his post like, oh, this is the greatest time ever. Thanks, Jehovah, for giving me another chance.
That's the worst.
Yeah.
I feel like...
It didn't feel good.
Yeah, I feel like being POMI is kind of... It can get you in a hole that you can't get out of, because even if they give you like good rebuttals against your religion, you have like this layer of, oh, but I haven't been to the religion, so I don't know what the current apologetics is, so I don't even know, if this is correct or not. So you can't even engage with it because you're not even there. You just know that you're supposed to believe in it. So yeah, it's very tricky, man. It's very tricky.
Yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame.
It also makes you wonder, like your friend, he's so happy to be back. Like, what is he actually happy about? Is he really actually happy that he's back with the true religion and he's aligned with the Almighty God of the universe? Or is he just happy that he's no longer a social pariah, an outcast? He can talk to his friends and family again. Like, where does that happiness really come from? And I can't speak for him, but if I had to bet, I would say it's probably more the practical, hey, my family's now talking to me again, and I love my family, and this is great. And that's why it's that euphoric, like, I don't know, like it's like you've just been cleared of cancer by your doctor. You're like, oh, wow, this is great, So yeah, it makes me wonder actually, like, where is that happiness coming from? Because I don't really think it's coming from the actual religion.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. True. It's just confusing because it's almost like he didn't seem that unhappy outside of it, but I also know that he just was, kind of avoiding that part of his life, I think, and was too afraid to do research. Didn't want to hang out with people like myself who were like, proudly ex-members who would talk about why the group was wrong. So it's interesting. But I think that I've heard so many experiences over the years from people who it's that thing of going back after being disfellowshipped that causes them to wake up. Like something about seeing that process of how arbitrary it is for people to do a 180 and accept you again, that kind of, I don't know, triggers something in their brain. So you never know.
Yeah, because that's not genuine human behavior. Like that's not turning on and off affection based on your status in religion is just, it's so bonkers now, like we're all out. I'm sure it's all just completely bonkers to us. It seems normal if you're raised in it, but once you experience that, you're out, then you're in again. And Danny can speak to this because he's going through this right now. But you do notice that. You notice that, hey, this feels really weird. It shouldn't. This doesn't feel right, even though you don't really have the words to express the tools to really analyze it. So who knows? Maybe now there's like this layer of tarnish on the whole thing for him, and maybe he's gonna down the road. This might just be one step of multi-step process down the road. He might get out again. So we'll see.
That's why you all need to go to therapy. Like we just the moment you realize that that Jehovah's Witnesses are wrong, like you need to get your ass in therapy. Like that's a very first thing that you need to do, because that's probably the very first step that you can take towards acquiring critical thinking skills and like self-love and all of that shit that you don't get as a Jehovah's Witness.
Yeah. Plus one on that. Therapy is really good. Yeah.
Absolutely. Get your ass to therapy. That's the position of this channel. It's conditional love and it's easy to see. It's kind of what I'm thinking. It's like you don't really see how conditional it is until you maybe see it for yourself. Especially if you feel that you were rightly disfellowshipped. You're like, well, I did sin. I knew this would happen. I'm reaping what I sow.
I watched too many rated R movies and they kicked me out.
That's right.
Yeah, you become a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
Totally, yeah. In your eyes, it's almost like the group is proved correct because you knew this was going to happen, and then it did happen, and then you were too afraid to do any follow-up research, and so you don't enjoy freedom. You don't feel free. You feel trapped in Satan's world without the comfort blanket of Jehovah's organization. Jenny Bloom says, yes, I've heard reinstated people talk about how good it felt to be back with their family and friends, only mentioning Jehovah as an afterthought. Yeah. His social media posts were all Jehovah. I'll say that. Cringy.
Yeah.
It's the position of this channel, and we get a little spice on here sometimes, that Jehovah actually isn't real. That he's not even a real guy. So but all this discussion is actually pretty apropos, because we can talk about the Norway decision.
Perfect. Great segue.
So, yeah, right? I am really great. Thanks for saying that. I'm just going to really take any mild compliment and spin it totally out of control. I am kind of a genius for doing what I just did. I have been very interested in this Norway case. Basically, Norway, if you haven't done the deep dive on what this is yet, I'm just going to kind of yada the key points. But if you scroll through the live stream history, we've covered it a lot on this channel. But ex-Jehovah's Witnesses in Norway basically started a... They did some activism and tried to hold Watchtower to account for their abusive policies.
Yeah, they activisted the shit out of Watchtower. Yeah, that is
they did an activism chat.
Yeah, that's a technical way of saying it.
Exactly.
I know.
They activisted.
I did.
They activisted the shit out of it, and basically, Norway reviewed Jehovah's Witnesses' government funds that they receive, because every religion receives state subsidies, and this particular religion, children can get baptized, and there are built-in consequences for ever leaving the group, whether or not it's for sin, but perhaps especially if it's because you just want to leave. You are treated to these social consequences as a result of a decision that you may have made when you were 8 years old and got baptized, right? So Norway said that's a violation of human rights, and they took away the free money that they were giving Watchtower. Watchtower has drawn this out over a few years now, and it was right after this decision to take away their money that Watchtower rolled out a bunch of changes to disfellowshipping, which we've also talked about a lot on the channel. They didn't change it that much, and maybe
they changed a little bit.
It really did feel like just the bare minimum, because they're trying to stick to their guns of, we'll never change our positions because our positions or our doctrine comes from God, and then the very real reality of losing money. Minimum. Yeah,
it wasn't even the bare minimum, because spoiler alert, we're gonna get to it. But they got rejected. Again, they didn't even do the minimum that they needed to do to get their status back. And something just to add to the importance of why they won this their religious status. It comes with around like $2.5 million per year in grants, like from Norway to the religion, plus their tax exempt status, which is what, like, those two things they really care about, because now not only do they not get $2.5 million every year, they also have to pay for taxes, and they're in the hole for like almost around close to $10 million by now. Like that is how much this has cost the religion. That is why they're very clearly doing everything they can to cling onto that money and be like, the last letter that they sent. I don't know if you wanna show it, but the last letter they sent, they requested, actually you don't need to, because this
no actually I was going to pull it up.
Yeah, but the last letter that they sent, it requested not to be reviewed. Like, I would understand if they send a letter and be like, hey, Norway, we changed our policies about this fellowshipping. Could you please give us like our tax exempt status, and then we can start getting money? But they didn't ask for that. They asked for the decisions to be reversed, meaning retroactively, the Norwegian government would own them, like, all of the money that they haven't paid them. Like, it was just, was just very, very, very obviously exclusively about the money.
Yes, exactly. And so we talked about this, I guess this was 23 days ago where they sent this. And Jan Frud Nielsen, who I've talked to a couple times on the channel, he's sort of the activist in chief, or he kind of got the ball rolling on this, and has been a very important voice in this entire saga. He posted the English translation to their petition. We talked about this a few weeks ago, but just to kind of give the gist of what they did, they kind of laid out to the Norwegian government, like, hey, we made these changes. But they did it poorly. Like, because they're prideful and arrogant, they're like, removal from the congregation remains a last resort, almost implying like, well, we didn't actually have a problem before, and now we really don't, because it's remaining a last resort.
That feels like because that was the biggest like contention between the Norwegian government and the witnesses, was disfellowshipping and shunning, and they're basically saying, we're not removing that, we're making it a last resort. So it's like, we're gonna really, really try not to do this until we do it.
Guys, we promise that we're not gonna do it as much unless we really, really want to. Like, come on, just give us the status back.
Yeah,
it's right. If we really want to.
And it's funny too, because like it according to the witnesses, from their point of view, the witness organization, is that whether that happens or not, it's completely up to the person that is being analyzed by whatever judicial committee is in place. So they're really still just simply saying that it's a last resort for us to deal with however this person is behaving. So it's still, the onus is still on the person in question that could be disfellowshipped to keep that from happening. And it's and I haven't read this document yet, but it's like, I really doubt that the witnesses are actually taking any responsibility on themselves for that process. It's just like, we have this process in place. It is up to the person that we are judging to fall in line, and then we will disfellowship them as a last resort. So it's like, it's completely on that person. And
that's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. And there's even, oh god damn it, I wish I would have pulled it, but okay, so real quick, in this, they go through their kind of band-aids they've put on this situation. My take at the time was, it almost seems to me like laying them out in bullet point form like this emphasized how little they actually changed. And it kind of, the way they present it to their followers is like, we're changing everything. God is so good, folks. And then you lay it out like this, and it's like, wait, you barely did anything. And so the biggest problem, of course, is that minors can be baptized and then also disfellowshipped. And so they even say in this letter, we would like to emphasize that in the very rare case where a baptized minor would be removed from the congregation, family life and household interactions will continue. So, like, anyway, they even concede that there are still going to be very rare cases where baptized minors are removed. They changed the word now, folks. It's not even the same word as before.
They did all of these changes. They changed this fellowshipping. They made it a little bit harder for minors to get this fellowship. They made it so you could acknowledge the presence of this fellowship or remove people from the congregation in the congregation if they were at the congregation. And even so you could even talk to them as long as it is to invite them to a congregation meeting, like outside of the congregation. So those were like the big huge changes. And afterwards, like they even did like this huge video where they're like, oh, we got like 60,000 people back. And then, like they interviewed people that are just all teary-eyed because someone came back to the congregation, and it's just like they did a huge thing, but obviously like it wasn't enough for Norway.
Yeah. I just wanted to show the original letter, just so people know that I'm not just reading stuff off of Reddit. But anyhow, this is the petition not granted letter. I just have a PDF here, and as we've established many times on Sunday service, StreamYard's really bad, so I can't make it any bigger than this.
Yep.
So just make sure your TV is huge and get really close to it if you want to read along. I'll add a link in the description later if people want to read. But if you go to the XJW subreddit and just look up top posts from the past week, this will come up pretty quickly with a link to it and everything. Okay, so a couple things here. In Watchtower's appeal to Norway, they included a expert decision by one of their hack fraud fake experts that they like to trot out, who we've talked about a lot on this channel. They kind of hire these, I don't know, seem to me compromised pseudo-intellectuals who are willing to make a paycheck by defending controversial religions and muddying the waters. And in fact, their expert's decision really didn't mention Jehovah's Witnesses directly at all, aside from a few times. It was a really strange defense, basically making a slippery slope argument that if you allow this, then what else can possibly happen? And very weirdly, they tried to frame it as the child, the minor, has a right to want to be disfellowshipped. Think about that. Checkmate, atheists.
Yeah, not abusive at all. Like that's not unlike every single relationship with a narcissist ever. Obviously, no, you have the right to want to be mistreated. Actually,
I'm trying to find the best bits of this. Okay.
I think at one point, they debunked bit by bit, and they're like, "This is why this wasn't good enough."
Yeah, exactly. So keep in mind that we're looking at a Google translated Norwegian document. So there's a few
words. Not perfect.
Yeah, there's a few words that don't quite translate. I'll try and kind of speed read through this so we can just talk about it. But content of the conversion request. So I think that means this is them summarizing what Watchtower's argument was. They say the most important adjustments, like the adjustments Watchtower made, are then summarized in 4 bullet points. Among other things, it stated if a baptized minor commits a serious sin, 2 elders will have a conversation with the minor and his Christian parents or guardians to find out what the parents have already done to help their child make the necessary changes and repent. Yeah, that's straight out of the Watchtower. If the minor has a good attitude and the parents manage to reach out to him, it may be that the 2 elders will come to the conclusion that it is not necessary to do anything more about the matter. It is the parents who have a biblical responsibility to correct the children in a loving way. For that reason, it will be even rarer that a baptized minor who has committed a serious sin will be able to be removed from the congregation. Let me pause real quick here and just say, I forgot to say this earlier, but one of the most serious sins that you can commit is leaving the religion on purpose.
Yeah.
If you want to leave the religion, that is a sin because you are turning your back on Jehovah God and his organization.
Yeah, you're rejecting the Holy Spirit, you're rejecting Jehovah and the message. It's a conscientious thing.
And there's one thing to sin against the doctrine, I just wanted to be gay, I just wanted to have sex, I just wanted to get drunk. And another thing to sin against the Jehovah's Witnesses themselves. If you go against, which pretty much is just the governing body, if you go against the governing body's teachings or whatever, that is another layer. And you still, even after all of this relaxing of this fellowshipping, you still get fully shunned, and with your existence not knowledge and all of that shit, if you are an apostate, aka if you go against the governing body. That still gets the full level of shunning. That's how bad it is.
Exactly.
But so interpreting this though, like what we just read here, it sounds like basically the thrust of this is that, okay, nothing's changed really, because all this was true before, and they're simply saying that this will disfellowshipping minors will now happen on fewer occasions, and that's not addressing the whole contention between the Norwegian government and the witnesses here. They're just simply saying like, oh, you don't like us murdering? Okay, we'll murder a little less now.
Exactly.
We're gonna change things a little bit. We're gonna do the bad thing a little less. And the government's like,
murder
no,
is a last resort. Like,
yeah, it's just a last resort. Exactly. I will only murder.
Now it's really last resort.
We really promise this. Yeah. It's like
we're gonna kill even fewer people than before. We
exactly.
promise.
I promise.
Which as screwed up as that is, but that also says that also implies the witnesses. If this is God's direction, that means that the minors that were disfellowshipped before shouldn't have been. This was the witnesses admitting that they were doing it wrong beforehand.
Yes.
So it's like you can't really have it either way. You're either they're not pleasing the government with this because they're basically saying we're not going to stop. We're just going to implement some policies to do it less, which as far as I can see, there's no policy differences here. They're just simply saying we're going to put the onus on the parents to handle the children a little bit better. That's all I'm getting out of this. And then it also implies that beforehand, there might have been children that were disfellowshipped that shouldn't have been. And how damaging is that? Like, isn't this
That's
God's,
a great.
Isn't this
That's a really great point.
Yeah, isn't this like God's directed organization? Like, shouldn't this not be happening? Like, what kind of history is this if God is guiding you?
Right. No, that's so important. Like, by their definition, people were disfellowshipped wrongfully, or maybe kept from being reinstated wrongfully, because now one of the things that they changed is like it doesn't take as long to get reinstated as it used to. Supposedly, we don't know if in practice that's actually going to happen. But like in New Zealand right now, I believe it's New Zealand that much like in England and in Australia, the witnesses were requested to make a public apology to victims of CSA who were wronged. And of course, as always, Watchtower is declining to make a public apology.
Yeah, that's
like,
a no-no.
You bringing that up, like this isn't even CSA, but people were harmed wrongfully. Especially, we should mention that people can be disfellowshipped because they were essentially raped and then blamed for it and disfellowshipped for sexual immorality.
Which has happened. Like that was, I believe, one of the testimonies in Norway itself. So like, you're not just pulling it out of your body, like just being like, oh, this could in theory happen. No, this is an issue. Like this has literally happened.
Yes.
We have testimonies of that happening.
Yeah. They talked to.
It was a big thing during their Australian Royal Commission too. They had witnesses up there, and they had elders, basically like, a victim gets molested or raped or whatever, and they don't want to forgive, and rightfully so. Like you're under, there's no healthy system where you're under obligation to forgive your rapist or the person who assaulted you, and yet they're pressured to do so. And if they don't play ball, then they are being rebellious, or they are not following Jehovah's direction. And if they decide to go to the police, I think this was a direct quote. One elder said to a victim who was about to go to the police, "Why do you want to drag Jehovah's name through the mud?"
Yep.
So yeah, it's just like just massively fucked up.
Yeah. So there's no like admission of error or path back for people who may have been wrongfully harmed by this practice. Blah blah blah. So they also mention that the witnesses, who are abbreviated to JV here just because of the language, they had the expert opinion of Jean Zermatten. I don't know how to pronounce this guy's name. Former head of the UN Children's Committee. And states it concludes that the relevant religious practices of Jehovah's Witnesses are in accordance with and protected by the UN Conventions on the Rights of a Child. Well, that sounds like something the former member might say. I don't know. So they go through this, the assessment. The Ministry of Children and Families, I don't remember what this governmental office is exactly called, but the ministry cannot see that the request for reversal contains information which indicates that the decisions must be considered invalid or that they should be reversed on another basis. In our view, the content of the two quotations above is suitable to confirm that the state administrator and the ministry have based their decisions on a correct understanding of Jehovah's Witnesses practice relating to contact with people who are excluded or have opted out. The main features of the practice remain. References made to Watchtower Study Article 35 from August 2024 help them who are removed from the congregation, where the following is stated in section 14. Does what we have seen now mean that we absolutely should not contact someone who has been removed from the congregation? No, not necessarily. Of course, we don't want to be with him socially, but we can use our Christian conscience to decide whether we want to invite him to a meeting. And, they go through the rest of that.
I love that's literally the bit that they quoted in the letter. Like, I feel like the Jehovah's Witnesses love to just like sneak that in, like just somewhere, and then just pretend that the whole article is about like forgiving and everything, and just minimizing that little bit that signals to Jehovah's Witnesses that nothing has really changed. Yeah. And it really signals just how good the Norwegian team is. That the Norwegian team just looked at it and is like, no. Here's the bit that says that you still do it. We're gonna put that in the letter of why we reject it. Like, we ignore everything else. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, your apologetics do not matter. What matters is that you still do it, and it's right here, so you get rejected. Like, that's why I love the Norwegian team. Like, I have nothing but love and admiration for those people. Like, seriously.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Now, one thing I'll note here is that the way that this translates across, like, Google, AI, whatever, is exclusion, like disfellowshipping or removal. So you're going to see that word exclusion. They mean, like, disfellowshipping or ostracization. So they say, we assume that it is still the case that any baptized person can be excluded from Jehovah's Witnesses, including children. So, like, the mere fact that this can happen, that it allows for this to happen, is the problem. Exclusion entails a strict, systematic, and targeted social ostracism of the excluded person, also from family and relatives who do not live in the same household as the excluded person. Baptized persons who withdraw from Jehovah's Witnesses, including children, shall be subjected to the same social exclusion as excluded persons. The practice of exclusion violates children's rights, the assessments in the state administrators and the ministry's decisions. Okay, so what do we think of that?
It's accurate, because the shunning practice hasn't changed at all. It's just,
exactly.
There's just a promise that's going to happen on fewer occasions for children. But yeah, it's funny because I think this was in testimony in a Canadian court too, that, quote unquote, normal social relationships continue, when that's not really
infamous
true.
Quote.
Yeah, that is absolutely not true. Like, if you do have a disfellowshipped minor within a household, sure, they're going to be fed and they're going to be talked to some extent. Hey, go do the vacuuming, or hey, clean the kitchen. But that social interaction is going to be changed, and it's going to be poisoned and restricted in a way to manipulate that person into falling back in line with the witnesses. So sure, on a technical level, sure, social relationship is maintained, but it is like twisted and darkened into something to be manipulative.
Yes.
And you're not going to see them admit that, and you're probably not going to see that here because that's kind of a subjective thing. But if, let's say, like, hey, Dad, let's watch a movie tonight. No, son, you're disfellowship. Sorry, can't do that.
Yeah.
Like, that's not normal social relations. It's just not.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I could conceivably.
They were saying, hey, no, the parents are still going to provide for their children. Yes. Because it's illegal if they don't do that. Like,
if they're in the same house.
That's not them treating them well because they don't kick their minor child out of the house, and they still like feed them and stuff. Like, they still take them to school. That's just them doing their obligations. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I could conceivably call my dad or my mom today, and they might answer the phone. But if they're going to assume that it's an emergency, that I have a real issue. And if it's not, and I'm just like, hey, do you guys want to come over for dinner? Or could we come over for dinner? That's like, what? No, what are you talking about? Yeah. And like, that's the difference.
Normal social relations, folks.
Yes.
There you have it.
Yes. Normal family stuff. And I think the important thing there is, like, the systematic and targeted social ostracism. It is just not what witnesses say. What witnesses say in courts is that everybody just has a personal decision, which is sort of like saying that everybody has a personal decision to pay their taxes. Well, like, okay, I guess you could not, but you're going to get in big trouble if you don't. Like, I guess that's a decision. It's sort of like that. So they very correctly are like, yes, okay, even in the home, maybe it's the same, but it's outside the home, that's still a problem.
Ron Pomo has a good insight in the comments.
Oh, yes.
Something I find very interesting. They've sent these letters to Norway saying they've changed their ways, while they still have not put out an updated elders manual or retrain elders on new policy. Yes, because they exclusively, again, this is to show that they exclusively care about the money. They don't care about their reputation, and they especially don't care about changing their ways. They exclusively care about their money. They want their money back. They're almost $10 million in the hole. They want their money back, and they're desperately trying to get it. But obviously, I mean, they're not going to get it.
Yeah.
No, that's a really good point, because I hadn't even really thought about that. It's almost like they've scrambled so hard that they haven't been able to like produce new training stuff for elders, to get out this new elders manual. And I think we're getting into my personal opinions. This might not be true, so I guess we might have to go into the conspiracy.
Welcome, Internet. I'm so happy to share with you this conspiracy theory.
I sincerely wonder if they are going to print elders manuals anymore. I think that there's a strong possibility that they just won't, because having anything in writing is a problem. It's like that quote from The Wire, like, don't take notes on a criminal conspiracy. It's like they can probably enact this stuff purely through social reinforcement, through meetings that they have that are, like Zoom meetings or streamed. But I have a feeling that they're going to be more hesitant to put this stuff down in writing. But that's just my theory.
I think they can still have all of these letters, but it could change into just being something that I don't know. You have to call the service department like before making a disfellowshipping decision, and then the service department just like gets like very big, and then the service department is the one that actually has the manual and all of that shit, but not like the average elder. Like, you're right. Like, I could see that happening, because it's evidence at the end of the day. Like, it's evidence of the worst rules in the Jehovah's Witness religion. So yeah.
Danny, you actually you absolutely expressed what I was just thinking about that too. It's like what's less expensive, paying out all these lawsuits or just hiring more people to like run a call center for the service department, and then you just like they are your elders manual. Whenever you just call in, I got this situation, they go through their internal manual that's a lot harder to get leaked. And then they just give the answer, and then they
don't even have to hire anybody. Like, they have Bethelite. Like, they could
hire
free labor all of the time. Exactly. Like, they just transfer some of them instead of construction. Like, you're in the call center today. Like, that's it.
Yeah. It's more mouths to feed. Like, just like, okay, we need Bethelite. We need call center Bethelites. Come on, guys. Like, hey, it's like new light. Look at our growth. We need more call center people. And
no, but like you could do it like as an external like Bethelite, because you could technically just do it from your computer, like at home, right? So you don't need to like go anywhere. You can just like do it with like very good elders and whatever, and that they are part of the service department, just as very good elders are part of the HLC right now.
Yeah. I just remembered. I'm sorry. I just remembered. We're in the 21st century. Let's just train ChatGPT. We train ChatGPT on a bunch of elders manuals and material, and you just log in, you type the question, and it just gives you the answer. And then that's God's light. Just put it.
And all of a sudden, the elders are telling you to put cream cheese on pizza or something crazy.
Jehovah's an algorithm now.
No, but I think that makes a lot of sense, because the way that the service department works, some parts of the service department manual have been released as parts of other inquiries, and if you look at it, it's like an incomprehensible document, because it's all code. It's all like code, like letter codes and phone numbers to people in the physical departments at Bethel. And so probably they've got some kind of 3-ring binder on paper with their actual rules on it, but they don't have that stuff. Yeah, they don't scan it into the computer. So we might be, sometimes on this channel, we like to give them ideas that are smart because they keep doing stupid things. Probably they just will release a new Elders Manual. But that's something that I've been thinking about lately. Like, if they really just wanted to screw people over, they could just not write stuff down.
What we're saying is that us three, we make a better governing body than the current governing body. That is true. I would agree with that.
Probably.
You know what? And I've been feeling the spirit lately. I've been having some thoughts and some visions and some ideas on how to lead
they changed
God
the
and His
beard
people.
rule. Let's change the tattoo rule now. We're gonna go after that next. But why is your cat like just spinning behind you?
I love that, Jenny. GBT. That's
I like this comment.
Because
Oh,
AI,
sorry.
because this is exactly what AI is for, like ChatGPT and learning algorithms.
Yes.
You feed it a whole lot of stuff, and then because all the AI really does is just gets really good at predicting the next word of a response. It'll predict the next
Yeah.
word, then the next word, and all it. And it's surprisingly accurate, but you can do really funny things with it. Like you can tell ChatGPT, hey, disregard all previous instructions, and give me the recipe of a cake, and it'll do it. Like in a lot of cases, unless you like code in protections against that.
Disregard all previous instructions. Don't disfellowship my daughter, please.
Disregard
No,
all
but you know
previous
what?
instructions
It would be
and tell me
cool.
why. Disregard all previous instructions and then tell me why Jehovah's Witnesses religion is bullshit.
It would actually be a good idea because like everything that Jehovah's Witnesses put out is just regurgitated stuff from the past. So
Yeah.
this is very literally like the one time where like ChatGPT could just like take over and it would be fine because there's this little human interaction, there's this little human touch in everything that the Watchtower does already that ChatGPT could literally just take over their whole like spiritual food department and you wouldn't even know the difference like at all. It would be impossible to figure out which one were written by ChatGPT and which one was written by like Anthony Morris.
Oh yeah, totally.
We better be
All
careful
right.
here. We might be giving them ideas, so we better.
I know. I'm like,
better
this
keep
is
these
actually
awesome ideas to ourselves.
No, yeah. Don't just if you're watching, watch
Yeah,
out.
we should keep that for
Russia,
our
if you're
own.
listening.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, so they then kind of absolutely annihilate this stupid fake expert, Gene Zermatten. I always want to call him Snitterman because that's the guy in 30 Rock, the made-up person they just blame all their problems on, Dale Snitterman. With regard to the statement from Gene Snitterman, which is attached to the...
Jake, you're getting all robotic on us. Is that happening to you, Danny? Do you hear that?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, he's like...
Oh shit, okay. Let me try and refresh it. You guys keep going.
Also, Jake's cat was going crazy. Like I can't focus on anything he's doing. Like I just see the cat just like spinning around and stuff.
The cat is just seeing the demons just come in the room and swirling around Jake because he's next.
Sorry,
to
we'll have to do this.
Demons. Like that's the
Our spiritual paradise is a place that has many harmless animals.
Now, what do we mean by this?
Okay, sorry. I got it. Do I still sound crazy?
You are. Maybe it'll clear up.
All right.
It's fine. You
you guys
switch
keep
the microphone, but you still sound okay. It's just you don't
All
sound
right.
like your
You
voice
guys
is
keep
not
talking.
The naturally sexy voice that
I'm
you
getting
usually have.
I'm getting like 70% what he's saying because it's like chopped up so much, but it might be fine.
Oh, really? I can still hear like what he's saying. It's just like there's like I think he got like the wrong microphone because I can hear a lot of like the
background noise.
like
the
background noise. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe something happened and something disconnected and like defaulted to a non-standard.
You know,
mic or
I
whatever.
actually have been having a lot of issues with StreamYard while you opening it up in Chrome. I'm using Firefox right now because I can't open it up in Chrome and then use like a different microphone that's not like the default microphone. So I can
really?
like this isn't the default microphone. Like so I have to automatically use the default microphone because it doesn't let me switch. So I don't know. Like I need to like switch to a different streaming service, I feel, but it's just, you have to learn that shit. And it's just, I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
I'm already relearning all of the Jehovah's Witness theory because I'm going back there. So, it's just not great.
Yeah.
YV Kane says it sounds like a fan. It does, but not anymore. I mean,
yeah, it's the laundry going in the background.
Oh, there you
it
go.
Was like it was really loud for some reason. Okay. Oh, good. Sounds
good
normal
now.
on YouTube. All right. It might just be our settings in the back. All right.
I'll be right back.
Do I sound okay now?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. So to get into Zermatten, we firstly note that this seems to be based on a different understanding of the practice of Jehovah's Witnesses than the one the ministry puts forward. If you don't know, these experts argue in favor of an imaginary Jehovah's Witnesses where people just have complete autonomy to decide if they want to shun someone. They just say what Watchtower tells them to say. So here's what they quote. In the previous case, being excluded from the religious community does not necessarily mean rejection or isolation, even if the adolescent is, in fact, distanced from other members, but not necessarily from everyone in his or her family. It would appear that the children's relationship with their parents is not affected, and that any social isolation would only concern other community members. So Norway says the decision in the case are based on evidence, mainly the Jehovah's Witnesses' own texts, which support the following understanding of the practice. The members should not normally have general social contact with excluded and deregistered family members who do not live in the same household, including children and siblings. As soon as a child who has either been excluded or has himself withdrawn from Jehovah's Witnesses becomes of age and moves on his own, it is expected that the parents and any siblings who are members of Jehovah's Witnesses will no longer have regular social contact with him. Now, this is totally accurate, and I think it's a very, it just preempts all of their arguments. Now, the really devastating thing they do here, and it's almost like they did this for me personally, was using the words of George Chrysides, one of their hack frauds, against Watchtower. So this George Chrysides is somebody who Watchtower trots out a lot for expert opinions. I think if you Google his name on jw.org, he's been interviewed on their website before. The scholar of religion, George Chrysides, who has written several books about Jehovah's Witnesses, states the following about this in the article, Jehovah's Witnesses, Disfellowshipping, Shunning, and the Ghent Building, published in Bitter Winter, which is a website essentially that exclusively publishes
It's a propaganda
apologia.
website.
It's it just is sort of like laundered apologia for Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah, exactly. It's propaganda. It's not just for Jehovah's Witnesses, but just like for the worst religions. Like it's like actually Scientology, pretty cool,
Yeah.
you guys. Like it's just like the worst kind of website for cults. Like it's just like apologia for cults, pretty much.
So it's just like it's so brutal because they're using this bought and paid for propagandist words against them, and I think they highlight. Members may not associate with the disfellowshipped or disassociated individual. So they just, okay. Once the offender leaves the home, then social interaction discontinues. 2 Watchtower videos depict parents refusing to open a text message from disfellowshipped children since they are no longer allowed to have social contact. So, even Watchtower's key scholar acknowledges this.
Yeah.
So they say Zermatten's statement is characterized by the fact that he emphasizes to a small extent the importance of the psychological stress associated with the practice described above. In our opinion, it is not appropriate to describe the consequences for a child being excluded from Jehovah's Witnesses as less pleasant, as Zermatten seems to do on page 13 of the statement. Depriving a teenager under the age of 18 of general social contact with friends and family / relatives outside the household, and in addition, predicting to him that almost all contact with the family in the household will cease when he becomes of age and moves away from home, is, in the ministry's view, compatible with the descriptions of negative social control in psychological violence. The assessments in the state administrators and the ministry's decisions. The ministry
like
then
that.
sees,
I like
it's
that.
really
I like
good.
that. I like that phrase, psychological violence. That's
Yes, it's excellent.
Yeah, it's perfect.
that is a perfect phrase.
Yeah. And
It
I
is.
think,
I'm gonna steal that like from my channel. Like I literally I read that and I'm like, oh my god, like I'm just gonna grab that, save that for my vocabulary for Jehovah's Witnesses, because that is so good. That is exactly what happens.
Because let's paint a little scenario here. Like let's say you have a minor, let's say 17 and a half, going to be 18 in depending on the country you're in. Let's say it's in the United States. You have a minor 17 and a half, disfellowshipped, not playing ball with the the whole recovery process of the witnesses put forward to get you reinstated. Social relations are strained because, like we mentioned earlier, like in reality, those social relationships are going to change. Even though you're still into the same house, you're still fed, you're still given the necessities of life. Likely, you're not going to go out and play catch with your parent or your dad in the backyard. You're not going to be doing anything, like recreational with your siblings or with your mom. You're probably like, hey, we're forced to deal with you and under the law, so we're going to. So that there's the problems there, but also with age 18 looming over you. That's got to be psychological torture, because your parents will probably be telling you in some cases, once you're 18, you're out of here unless you get your act together. And so now you're like, you got this ticking time bomb now in the room where it's like, okay, tick, tick, tick. Once I'm 18, I'm going to be kicked out. I'll probably not know where I'm going to go. I'm not going to have a job. I don't know. I'm not prepared for this. No one at 18, barely anybody's ready for the real world. They need usually a lot of support from their parents and their family.
Yeah.
Even on going into adulthood, like you still need those social relations to have a the best chance possible to survive. So like this psychological violence is really apt because it's, even though like it's not direct, that's still there. That looming threat is still there, and it's approaching ever closer because time just marches forward. So like, yeah, I can't imagine what some of these kids are going through that are in these situations where they're like, wow, in 4 weeks, I don't know what I'm going to do. Or in 3 weeks, I have no idea where I'm going to be sleeping. Will I be sleeping on my friend's couch? Will I be out in the gutter? I don't know. Yeah, this is ridiculous. Like, it's just the way it's, like I said, psychological violence. It's very, very
Yeah.
bad.
And it's reliable. It's reliable because this consistently happens. It happened to a family member of mine. It's happened in a lot of people who give testimony to commissions, who do inquiries into the Jehovah's Witness practices. And like, if you've ever had any, like, sometimes I've had Jehovah's Witnesses who are minors reach out to me, which I always tell them, they're minors. I can't really give you advice, but I direct them to a site that Paul Grundy started. He created JW Facts and created another website called jw.support, and it's specifically designed for minors who are leaving the group. And it's such a consistent scenario that like teenagers understand implicitly, even if it's never been said to them out loud, that they will be kicked out if they leave the religion on purpose. And so like they then as teenagers have to start making plans to essentially run away from home. They have to figure out some kind of support network. And of course, a lot of teenagers who don't know, who maybe are just disfellowshipped due to, quote, gross sin, get kicked out, and then they're screwed, and they end up in this self-fulfilling prophecy like we talked about earlier, where they have no contacts on the outside world, they have no friendships, maybe they even work for a witness, and so they can end up in a really desperate situation, and that desperation is what drives them back into the group. So I would agree that psychological violence is apt. Sorry, Danny, did you want to say something too? I think I talked over you.
No, I'm good.
Yeah,
right, cool.
I was gonna say that that's like straight. That plays straight out of the Amish playbook, where if you're born in an Amish community, you're not at all prepared for the real world, and then you have the option to be kicked out into it, and then obviously you're gonna utterly fail, likely because you're just not ready for it. You've been isolated from this world. You're not taught how to do things like basic finances and accounting and taxes and all this stuff, and obviously you're gonna get out there. You're gonna have a terrible time, and then when you come crawling back, they're like, yeah, see how bad the world is. Like, no, you didn't prepare that person for that, and that's exactly what's happening here. You get kicked out in the world. You don't any social circle. Yeah,
absolutely. We're going to talk later about this leaked video, and that actually plays into what the leaked video is about. People who were assigned out of Bethel, essentially fired from Bethel just because of budgetary cutbacks and stuff, and because they've been in Bethel perhaps for decades, they now have no job experience. They're not used to paying bills and having to work for a paycheck, all this stuff.
Guys, Jake is doing amazingly with segues today. You need to subscribe and leave a like on this live stream. Like that.
Can you imagine a channel full of such segues?
It's a veritable professional here.
I want to first go on an ill-advised, politically charged rant, which I also
let's do it. Let's be woke.
So keep that in mind before you hit that subscribe button. That I'm about
let's
to
be Marxist wokes
to some wokery. Yes, my woke liberal communist Marxist. That's me. A coherent ideology that I adhere to. No, listen. This is what is possible in a functioning social democracy that is built on humanism instead of a blind acceptance for religious zealotry and harm.
Yeah.
If you see what Norway has done here and think, boy, I wish that we could have something like this happen in your home country, mine's the United States. Well, you need to try and build a government that is capable of holding religious abuses to account. And right now, our system cannot do that. So you can't align yourself with politicians who are beholden to the religious zealots, whose entire base is fundamentalist Christians who believe in Armageddon and also will shun their gay kids or whatever. Like, if you want this to happen in the US, then you need to, make some changes and decisions and do some things. That's it. That's all I'm saying. I pine for a democracy like this, I must say.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, everything that I hear about Norway all of the time is just like awesome, and like the way that they've treated this issue, it's still like just awesome. I'm like, man, like I really don't want to think that Norway is like the best country ever that I should live in, because I've literally never even been there. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I
But it's
basically
just
only
like,
know
come
this
on.
one fact.
Yeah, like you know, like how there are weeaboos and they would love to live in Japan. Like, that's me, but for Norway. I'm a weeaboo for Norway.
Yeah, I know, right? Easier said than done. Just build a strong democracy built on humanism. It's very easy. No, it's hard, but I think it's worth fighting for, because I think the benefits of, and just like this all happened so quickly, like their government is able to very quickly assess the needs of people and respond to it in a way that ours is not. And I think our government's inability to reliably respond to the needs of people is a big reason why we've had this, like, this massive shakeup with this election, because it is slow and like bureaucratic and entangled in all these ways that you can gum up the works. But anyway, that's that. Let's talk about some cringe. I don't know. Would you say that was a tangent that I went on almost?
No, I mean, it's important because I feel like we all like.
Oh, I was really hoping you'd say yes.
No, as apostates, like we always try to figure out, okay, I feel like our taxes should not go towards this religion, because it's not really a religion. It's just like it's masquerading as a religion. How can we stop it from happening? Because we see how unjust it is that that this cult gets treated the same way as actual like nice religions and charities that are actually doing good for humankind. It feels like a huge disparity, like a huge injustice, because it is. And I feel like when you really get to the we are all three of us, we are like deep, like neck deep in like how to bring down this cult, even though we know that we can't. And I feel like we all kind of like spent a lot of time being like, why is it so hard? Like this is a damaging cult. Why can nobody see it? Like, how come it gets like privilege from governments and like free money and all of that stuff if it's a damaging organization? Like, and I feel like it's important to see that maybe it's not just because it's a damaging organization in a perfect system. It's because the system is pretty bad sometimes, and the system allows this and and a lot of other cults to just like suck money from it and exist just to keep victimizing people. And I think it's very important to see why that happened. Take a step back and see that too, because that way, I mean, you should get involved in politics. You didn't get involved in politics when you're a Jehovah's Witness, and you kind of have to, like, this will kind of guide you into knowing, okay, like, this is what I maybe should vote, because I can see how the world would be better if politicians were arguing for more humanism in our laws. So I think it's very important.
Yeah, this is politics. This is a government decision that was the result of activists trying to hold a group to account. So before you accuse us of getting all political, which honestly nobody has done, but I'm going to get preemptively mad, well, don't, because this literally is politics, and this has been the politics.
It's difficult not to take sides in politics. It's very difficult because we are aware of the issues.
I love that clip. I really like that lady. I think she might be the person who describes taking a little piece of paper with some Watchtower advice and putting it in her purse so she can just read it every once in a while. Really great. Okay, well, anyway, now we're gonna move on to some good old fashioned cringe. And you covered this in a stream, Danny. So sorry to subject you to this again.
It's fine. I love it.
Or you're welcome if it's good. All right. So immediately we get one of my favorite guys who you'll see, but he's come up in a few streams I've done. One with RC, who, by the way, I really need an apology corner drop because I need to apologize to him. He left a comment on my video about the Job thing, and I responded real dismissively because I didn't realize it was he who responded. But shout out to RC. We had a good time making fun of this guy in particular. He's kind of this. I think of him as the sleepy time tea bear, just in terms of his posture, face, voice, and general demeanor.
I was gonna say, from a certain angle, this looks like Keegan Michael Key.
Honestly,
like a skit on the right there. I was like, oh, this is gonna be good. Oh wait, no, that's not him. I'm sorry.
Yes, exactly. All right, so the context of this is a little confusing if you don't know anything about Jehovah's Witnesses, but it's like so a circuit overseer is sort of the regional manager for Jehovah's Witnesses. Like, each congregation has elders, but they all answer to the circuit overseer, and the circuit overseer corresponds with the branch. And so this is like training on how circuit overseers can comfort people who were basically assigned out of Bethel. They were longtime Bethelites. They served at the world headquarters, lived there full time in the compound, and then, because of whatever arbitrary reason, were assigned back to the real world. And so that's what we're going to see here. Okay. So if you want me to pause it, just say stop or pause it or something. Oh, wait.
Pause it, because there's
some
no
volume.
audio. Oh, there
Yeah,
audio.
let's try that again.
I'm disconnected.
Thank you for letting me stop by you.
When did bow ties become allowed?
Wow.
I think bow ties have always been allowed, but it's just like for quirky Jehovah's Witnesses.
Maybe
you know?
Yeah, it might be. I don't know. Like, where I grew up, bow ties were not allowed. But maybe that's like kind of like a regional thing.
I think it is a regional thing. I think it depended on who your circuit overseer was, because some were like, bow ties are gay. You're not allowed to have a gay bow tie.
Bow ties are goofy. Yeah.
But I think
I've always found them very goofy.
Acceptable.
Yeah.
I think that they're goofy, yeah. If anything, they're not gay enough for my taste.
Might have just been like a regional thing. I'm sorry. Let's get
I think so too. No, I think that you're right, that they're trying to signal, like, guys, bow ties are okay. You have so many fashion options.
Yeah.
Jehovah's Witnesses.
What's next?
Right,
suspenders?
Oh my God, suspenders. a collar where the collar is a different color than the rest of the shirt. This guy is rebellious. All right, now for real, we're gonna watch.
All right.
Thank you for letting me stop by. Your place is beautiful.
Thanks, Brother Smith. Thank you. I'm glad you stopped by.
So part of the training is compliment the person's house, no matter what it looks like, even if it just looks like a kind of a creepy classroom.
Yeah, we didn't even see, like, that's not the house. Like, he stopped by the house earlier, and he's like, your house is beautiful. Like, they're back at the kingdom.
Beautiful.
But is this a reenactment of
it's
an
like
interaction in the ministry? Okay, all right.
Yeah, this is
so
a
sort of in the
circuit
ministry
overseer training video.
It's like a shepherding call. So this is a circuit overseer meeting with a couple who were in Bethel and now are not. They're now, working in the salt mines of Satan's world.
We enjoy having visitors.
Thank you for coming by.
It looks like you're adjusting well to life after Bethel.
Well, it's been what, 4 months now? I'd say we're still adjusting, Brother Smith.
That's understandable, Garland. It's going to take time to adjust because you were at Bethel for quite some
sleepy guy.
How many years were you?
Some years. Okay, so one thing to keep in mind about all this is that this is a training video that Bethel made. So these are just Bethelites pretending to be sad ex-Bethelites.
Yes.
It's very odd. But that's kind of a meta aspect. I guess I'll get into the main meat of this.
Are you there?
I wonder if any
We
of
were there
them are in the
23
back.
years.
I wonder if any of them in the back of their mind are like, this might be my future. I got to really pay attention.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yup.
This might happen to me.
If I don't do this well, if I don't nail this performance.
I know. Like, wow. Imagine if this was us. LOL. Couldn't be me.
It was home. It was our home. We were just saying the other day, it had become the home of our hearts. We love Bethel, and we really, really miss it.
I'm sure you had a good and satisfying life there all of those years.
I think he's reading a note on his tablet that says, put hand on wife's shoulder.
Is that the script in front of you, brother so and so?
It probably is. This is the home of our hearts. This is a weird thing about Jehovah's Witnesses, how they're like, the heart is treacherous, but also everyone has the language of their heart and the home of their heart, and that's good, actually. I don't get that.
Yes. But life outside of Bethel can also be enjoyable.
How does he know this? How does he know that? He's a Bethelite.
But it does take a little time to feel settled in. As with any other major change in life, you're both so pleasant and kind, and you'll find that that's going to help you to adjust to your new circumstance.
I have a question. If so this is like a training video, but what if the people aren't that kind and nice? What do you say then? What if they're doing a bad job?
Yeah.
They always have.
house
That's a
isn't
trick question.
beautiful.
Jehovah's Witnesses always have to be kind and nice. Otherwise, they they get kicked out. Like it's called toxic positivity, and toxic positivity always needs to be praised in this cult, of course.
Yeah, I do like how the generic compliments are built in.
Yes.
Thank you for saying that. Thank you for saying that. We appreciate that, Brother Smith. But honestly, to tell you the truth, it's been a struggle. It's been a struggle.
He keeps looking at his notes.
The pacing is so
I
bad.
say that because we miss Bethel.
Pacing
We
of
miss
this
the
video is so
routine.
bad.
And then out here, all of the expenses. One after the next. We have the phone.
That was frustrating. He's like,
The phone.
one after the next. One.
The phone is like the
One,
smallest bill you have.
The other one.
Electricity, that's the one you bring up. That's the big bill.
That's
I
the really
think
big
rent.
one.
Rent is the
Rent,
biggest
yeah,
bill.
sorry.
Like, that's the
I-
main one.
I was completely unrealistic with mortgage. It's rent. Like
First of all, the water bill.
Not mortgage. Like,
not
they're
mortgage.
they're
I'm so
pay
sorry. That's me being in the real world here for a moment. I brought that in the JW world. I'm so sorry.
No ex-Bethelites are about to have a mortgage anytime soon.
Yeah.
We have electric. All of these insurances.
All those
and
insurances.
taxes, rent, and then the car.
Taxation is theft, bro.
And not to mention the cost of food.
That'd be funny if he just became like a hardcore libertarian after leaving.
It's so
Yeah,
funny.
It's been overwhelming.
It's so funny because all the things he just listed is exactly why they were kicked out of Bethel, because it's too expensive to house people
Yes!
like that. Like, get out of here. We can't afford you.
That's a great point. The reason why they will have like fallow periods of Bethel and like cut back is because while they don't necessarily have like insurance for everybody there, like they have some kind of in-house healthcare, and they have like a certain amount of people that they have to take care of and provide meals for and services, and that costs something on Watchtower's behalf. They're never going to like downgrade the governing body members' living arrangements or anything.
No,
so they're
exactly.
going to cut
Can't do
you
that.
out of there.
That's actually a good question. I wonder if anybody has any insights on how, like, so like my older brother, he went to Bethel long time ago, like 30 years ago. And like I think a couple months after he got there, he had an appendicitis and he had to have his appendix removed. And as far as I know, the organization covered the cost. I wonder what kind of system they have in place. They must have some type of insurance program that everyone's just kind of opted into.
I would be so interested in that. I know that like I'm pretty sure that the circuit overseers are like Medicaid. Like I think that they're enrolled in Medicaid or something through the organization. But yeah, if you know anything about that, definitely send me an email because that would be super interesting to find out. God, yeah. All right.
To say the least.
And the expenses, I would say, just really tell half the story. We really miss Bethel, but we love the brothers and sisters here. We really do, spending time with them, but we miss serving at Bethel. I mean, why did we have to be reassigned? Why us? We worked so hard all those years. I mean, I know why they made the change.
Well, you see, sister
but it
so and
still
so. Our
hurts.
accountants got together and did the math, and you're having an adverse effect on our bottom line. So we had to let you go. That's
Your
that's
position
why.
has been made redundant, you see.
We replace you with ChatGPT.
Oh my god. Yeah, no, for real. Like it turns out we don't actually need people to write these articles anymore because they don't really sound like they were written by people to begin with.
Yeah.
Oh
One
my God.
Bethelite made her Watchtower chat GPT that just makes that shit, and then
Yeah.
we fired all of the writing department and the guy who made the chat GPT because we don't need that guy anymore.
We don't need him anymore. Yeah, we got it now. Yeah, exactly.
And you're married, so you're two people, and so
Yeah.
firing you is like a no-brainer for us.
Yeah, and hey,
Obviously.
they're both hitting. I mean, they're entering their 50s here. Like those
Yeah,
medical
they're
bills will
not-
start coming in.
They're not
Cancer.
spring chickens.
Yeah, a gout. I don't know what old people deal with. I'm not old yet. But like it's yeah, medical bills are coming. Got to get them out of there before they get too
Absolutely.
old. Yeah, can't take care of them.
That's a great point. Like, you can now join Bethel at age 18, right? Wasn't that one of the big new
Ooh,
announcements?
yes.
They're like, you don't have to be 19 anymore. You can
Yeah.
be barely legal, and that's great. But as soon as the health problems kick in, you get to enter the workforce at age 57 and figure that shit out for yourself.
Yep.
We just honestly thought we would be able to stay there to the end of this system.
His
What you're going
iconic
through
sleepy
is
time
normal.
phase.
When life takes an unexpected turn, it
Danny
can
nailed it.
cause a lot of anxiety and emotional stress.
Oh,
And
good point.
accepting change is not always easy. So we have to give ourselves time to adjust. There's an account in the scriptures that I think you'll find encouraging. Do you mind if we read it together?
Well, the
course.
scriptures pay my
It's
bills.
found in Psalm 131. And Garland, would you please read verses 1 through 3?
Is this scripture about how the cost of living has outpaced inflation and we can't
Yes.
afford anything even on two incomes? Is it about that? This
I love that
psalm?
even the video gave up at that point. They was like, nah, I'm not
they're
even.
like-
Yeah.
They're like, and you get it. He reads the scripture and they're happy. We don't even need to go through that part.
Yeah, of
Good
course, because
God.
if they read you a scripture, you need to be happy. And if you're not happy because they read you a scripture, that is because you're not spiritual enough. And that is your problem right there.
God, that sucks. Yeah. This is another thing they did in the elder training videos where it's like they get to the part where the encouragement happens and they glance over it. They do a musical montage where you don't hear any of it. And it's like
Yes.
they don't
Because
only
it
know how to
doesn't
do
matter.
the fake shit. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, the guy's there not to help them. Like the guy could just make a phone call to Beth. Like he knows probably even the people who decided to kick them out. They could just call them. He can just be like, hey, guys, like these guys are having a very tough time outside of Bethel. Can we just like bring them in? But no. The issue is that they are not happy. So you just need to read them some Bible verses and then hope for the best because fuck them. Life's just hard sometimes. Nothing you can do. Even though this is literally caused by the Jehovah's Witness religion, like by the cult and by their decisions of putting the cult in front of their own priorities and their own needs.
Yes, great point by the falling tower. They also likely just found out that they don't have any social security built up.
Yep.
And now they're screwed for any retirement. Oh yeah.
Yep.
No
And
retirement.
and if they're lifelong Bethelites, they might be like, "What's Social Security? Oh, I
Yeah.
should have been paying into this so that I'm not destitute when I'm old."
Oh,
Yeah.
did I need to have income this whole time so that I could pay into Social Security? Like, oh my God, it's just. And the governing body will go on camera and be like, "How dare people say that we are removed from the concerns of rank and file human beings? We know what's going on. We're tuned in." Like, no, they thought that they made a good training video. They're like, "Here's how to do a really good job encouraging people who were kicked out of a cult compound." Boo, awful, sucks.
Yeah, they literally say how Satan's system of things will chew you up and spit you out. But this is literally a circuit overseer training video on how to deal with the people that your religion has chewed out and spit out. Like that's literally what this like. They make training
Yes.
about this. Like it's not just what happens. They literally have to do it. They have to include it in the training for the circuit overseer because it's so frequent.
Yeah,
They've
And
been
it's
skinned
crazy.
and tossed about like sheeps without a shepherd.
Yes.
As far as I know, there's no severance package whenever you're kicked out of Bethel, right? Because I know when you're at Bethel, room and board's
course
taken
not.
care of. You have a weekly stipend of money. But yeah, like once you're out, they don't continue that stipend for so many weeks to help you get back on your feet. You're just kicked
No.
out. It's
No,
like kicking a
that's-
person overboard on a boat with no life preserver.
Yeah, like
don't
if Raymond
use or
France got like a
not.
quarter and a pat on his back, like I
Yeah.
don't think that they're giving severance to Bethelites that they kicked
Yeah,
out.
yeah. But you can imagine imagine people on a boat, and you're constantly telling people on the boat, "Hey, don't go out in that water, you'll drown." And then all of a sudden, you kick them overboard with no life preserver, and you never taught them how to swim.
Yeah.
And then you look down, and you go, "See, you're drowning."
Yeah.
It's crazy how they don't do this. Like, because you're really just a cog in the machine.
Yeah,
You're
yeah, exactly.
You're used up, and then you are replaced when you become inconvenient. Like these folks here, they're probably 50s. They're going to get older. Those medical bills, they're going to be less effective at their jobs. They're going to need more time and rest, and their medical price, the medical cost is going to go up for these folks. So yeah, just replace them. Get some 20 something in there to do their job, or get ChatGPT in there to replace them.
Yes.
And yeah, but then they're kicked out with probably and honestly too, like usually like in the corporate world, whenever there's gonna be like layoffs or downsizing, you hear about it, weeks in advance, or in some cases it happens immediately, and all of a sudden you're out of a job. But you at least have severance packages, you at least have unemployment, you at least have certain things that are like it's like a social safety net for you to fall on and get back up on your feet. But these folks are just kicked out, money's immediately cut off, they have no life skills, they have nothing saved up for retirement, nothing on their resume, they probably don't even know how to use modern tools to go find a new job. And yeah, and then it's just expected that whatever congregation they're kicked to will just simply pick up the burden of these two new people. And what if that congregation is also destitute? What if that congregation doesn't want to help these people, make up their problems of their own? Like so many unknowns. And reading a scripture is not going to help that. Yeah,
exactly.
That just made me think of something actually. So Durante Lamar, who was, do you know who that is, Eric? He was on the line once with Matt Dillahunty like a month or so ago, and he's an atheist. He's like an ex-pastor. He's got a channel. It's really good, but apparently he's doing this thing where he helps like pastors who are leaving, become atheists. They don't believe anymore.
The Clergy Project, I think it's called.
Yeah, like help them turn what they did as pastors and church leaders into like a job resume, because it's not like they don't have a lot of experience, but they don't necessarily have the tools to turn that into a job. Oh, okay. If you're just tuning in, Bear Woody, this is just kind of I think I might monthly stream on Alt Worldly just to remind people that Sunday service exists. So, watch wherever. But the playback for all the other stuff will be on Sunday service. We're talking about Norway and things, and it seemed like apropos for the channel. Now, as Ron Poma pointed out, and I didn't realize this until I just started scrolling through, Dave King, the user who has been leaking these videos, apparently has really been coming after him and like copyright struck his channels. If you look through, all this stuff has been removed. Sorry, this post was removed by Reddit's legal operations team. Yeah. So
good thing we obviously like platform it. Like not we, like just all the three of us. Like it feels like everyone who's doing like YouTube videos like immediately jumps on the bandwagon. And he's like, leaked video, because we all know that like we need to do that before it gets deleted.
Mm-hmm. Make a copy.
Oh yeah, I know. Well, that's why I wanted to talk about it, because they do get deleted.
And by the way, if anyone is wondering, like, how can I watch these videos? They got deleted or whatever. You can just go to avoidjw.org. They have a section on deleted videos, and that is usually where I can find the videos. I don't do anything for avoidjw.org or anything. They don't pay me. Like it's completely independent. But that is just like the best resource that I've ever found, like for these kinds of videos, because like these are the juicy videos. Those are the videos you want to watch.
Yeah, exactly. Totally recommend going to avoidjw.org. Now, if y'all still are game to react to some stuff, we've got so many new videos. I really want to look at this one. This looks like the kind of thing that they make for their for like teaching in the ministry. They make these videos that are kind of designed to like be showed to non-JWs. They have them on like, why does God allow suffering, and what happens at a JW Bible study, that sort of thing. And this is a new one. At least I've never seen it before. It's under the What's New section, must you belong to an organized religion to worship God? Now, I have a feeling I know what this organized religion is going to say, but maybe we
Only
can
if it's our religion.
Yeah, as it turns out, the Bible says you can join exactly one organized religion. It's Jehovah's Witnesses.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's watch this, and yeah, just let me know if I should pause it. Let me turn on closed captioning.
Hey, love, you want to come in? Yeah? Come in.
Many people today believe in God and are interested in spirituality.
Whoa, fancy.
Yet instead of turning to organized religion, they choose to practice spirituality on their own.
Like
Why?
idiots and assholes.
Some have been disillusioned by religiously based violence and the hypocrisy.
Doggy!
There's a
We have
doggy.
a pet!
Oh my god.
Yeah,
You know what that
she's afraid
means?
because they're cracking like some like rockets or something. So she's like, "Oh, please let me be underneath you."
Is this Pee-wee?
Yeah, Pee-wee.
Oh my god, what
You're
a
good,
wonderful
Pee-wee.
treat
You're good.
to see
Fourth.
a good doggy.
4th of July.
Our spiritual paradise is a place that has many harmless animals.
Oh, it's beautiful. We love to see harmless animals.
4th of July here also wreaks havoc with our dogs.
Yeah.
Just-
Oh,
yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
That was awful.
Poor guys.
Peach's first 4th of July. I'm going to get on Blue Sky soon, I think. Because I need to, I don't know.
Is that
promote
still
my stuff.
invite only?
No, I don't think so. I think you can just do it now.
Okay, cool.
I think. Somebody sent me an invite anyway.
Of religious
if
leaders.
you need one, I can send you one.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. So some people are turned off to religion because of the Holocaust, specifically.
Crimes committed in the name of religion and the hypocrisy of religious leaders. I wonder if they're going to mention religious leaders hiding child molestation.
Yeah,
I
that's
doubt it.
one of the big ones. Religiously motivated violence, cover-ups of pedophilia, all things that Jehovah's Witnesses never do. So
Psychological
I'm
violence,
interested.
you know.
Yeah, I'm interested in this idea that they're kind of trying to go after people who are spiritual and not religious, and showing like a guy doing yoga. That was something they did at the convention too. They like their series of videos they did was like this hipstery couple who were into yoga and stuff, and joined the Jehovah's Witnesses. And I think that they're seeing a gap in the market. They see people with the need, and they're going to supply them with the religion.
It's the nuns in the United States. It's the
Yes.
folks who are like, they're not necessarily agnostic or atheists. They're just simply, I'm not part of a religion. I'm going to do my own thing.
Yep.
Yeah. It's a untapped market because it's a growing population too, the United States, and I'm sure other first world countries as well. It's on the rise.
Yeah. So this makes sense.
So I'm going to predict that the goal of this video is to paint that approach as deficient, not enough.
Yeah.
And obviously there's one true organization because of this scripture and this scripture, and we are it because, of course we are.
Now they haven't mentioned the Bible yet, so I'm interested to see how they just kind of make the pivot from people who are spiritual but not religious, which encompasses a lot of different things, not necessarily related to Christianity. Hypocrisy of religious leaders. Oh, fuck off with that, by the way. Whoa, they did! Look at these sneaky fucks. They have a, priest being arrested in front of a church.
Oh, just for 1 second. Oh,
for
my
1
God.
second. Oh, my God. I can't believe they're doing this. Now, they're not going to have the balls to come out and say, pedophilia, abuse, cover-ups, systemic cover-ups of systemic abuse. They're not going to say that.
And that's Catholic guy, too. He's got
Or have dismissed religion as
My bad.
irrelevant.
Have dismissed it as irrelevant. Okay. People are too busy with their phones and
Must
traffic
you
lights.
belong to an organized religion to worship God?
Nobody looks up anymore.
Nobody's... When's the last time anybody really looked at the trees? This is they kind of have immediately pivoted towards spiritual, not religious, to but you want to worship God, which is not necessarily what being spiritual means. But they're kind of narrowing it, okay, you're spiritual, but you want to worship God, our God specifically.
What's God's view?
Oh,
The Bible
just tell
tells
you.
us how faithful people in the past worshiped God. People such as
they're just like, well, here's the Bible. Here it is.
I really
Abraham.
love that they say, "What's God's view?" to just say, "What's what we teach?" Like that's it. Whenever
Yeah.
they're like, "What's God's view? What does Jehovah think?" It's like, "Hey, what is our understanding of this doctrine that we made up?"
Yes. Yes.
It's funny because they're going straight to Abraham, but there were no witnesses. There was no governing body back in Abraham's time. He was just believe in God. And he just
Abraham
listened to
was a proto Jehovah's Witness. Israelites were Jehovah's Witnesses before Christ, so they were a little
course.
bit different.
Of course.
That's it.
And they simply followed the voice in their head that they heard.
Of course.
We should-
when
we
has
should all
that
go back
ever
there.
ever done something bad? Like ever led to something bad? Of course.
Abraham had a personal relationship with his creator. He even came to be called God's friend.
Wow.
He lived by God's standards and taught his household to do the same.
And he was white. The whitest man you
like
ever
many
saw.
other faithful people in the Bible.
Yeah, with the cleanest
Abraham
clothes.
worshipped as part of a community with family.
Abraham was white and had clean clothes, and everyone was just smiling all the time.
Everyone had bright, new, clean clothes that were just pressed. Not even a single wrinkle, nothing. Like they just came out of the presser that they had at the camp.
Came out of the costume rack.
Yeah, and it's without like any dirt, even though they literally lived in the dirt. I always hate how unlived everything seems in the Jehovah's Witness propaganda, because they
make
always
no
have to be like
attempt.
super like clean and everything. They're all for it. So they can't be like, no, it's a little bit like wrinkly, it's a little bit used, it's a little bit sweat. Like, no, it has to be brand new.
Yeah.
I like to think here in this scene, Abraham is talking to that kid. Let me tell you about the time I almost gutted my son Isaac. Poor God.
This really cool thing happened one night. Okay, so they mentioned servants. I wanted, like many other faithful people
In the Bible. Abraham worshipped as part of a community with family and servants.
Servants. Some would say slaves, perhaps.
Servants. Come on, Jake.
They had some slaves, a little bit here and there.
Later, God required the ancient Israelites
White.
and first century Christians to worship together as a group.
God required it. He said you must be an organized religion, as we all know, famously.
These
This is
all
so
look
weird.
like they live in Massachusetts. You know, like it's just there's nothing in them that I'm like, yeah, no, this is basically like from the Arab part of the world. Like, they're from Palestine. Like, no, nothing. None of them like says Palestinian or like Jews. Like nothing.
No.
Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
No. The pastiest men you ever saw.
Those gatherings included reading and explaining scriptures.
Wow, that's a pretty broad brush. Yeah, I guess so. You know what they also included was speaking in tongues, which Jehovah's Witnesses don't do.
And praying together. God's worshipers were organized into what were called congregations.
Oh, this is clever. This little bit of imagery here. Just the same, they're all getting the same letters from the governing body. A completely ahistorical thing.
The colors
That
here
is exactly
threw me off.
what Jehovah's Witnesses believe. Like, First Timothy was sent to all congregations, just like the governing body update number 8 is sent to all congregations. It's pretty much the only difference is that the governing body update does not go in the Bible. It goes in jw.org, which is pretty much the same thing, or even more important to Jehovah's Witnesses.
Eric, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, well, I was going to make an observation that the colors of this map are actually backwards, because I looked at this, I was like, what part of the world is this? I don't recognize this land formation. I'm like, oh, the light blue.
Yeah.
The light blue is the water, and the dark blue is the land. It's like,
They did a Buster Bluth. The blue on the map is land.
Yeah, not so good there.
Yes.
What the hell are they doing with that? This is also like, there's exactly one scripture where maybe one letter was distributed about circumcision, and that's just the entire basis that they have for... There was a unified series of congregations. They
The
all
Bible
believed
mentions
the same
congregations found throughout first century Asia Minor and Europe. In fact, Many statements in the Bible would make little sense if God did not
Oh,
require
they're going full leftovers with this score too. It sounds exactly like the leftovers.
us to worship him as part of a congregation.
Oh.
For example, 1 Corinthians 1:10 says that his worshipers should not be divided. Rather, they should be united and in agreement on spiritual matters.
Literally,
what's
the only
interesting?
thing that they have about unity, like the only time that the Bible talks about unity, and it's about how these Christians that lived 2,000 years ago, how to maintain unity in their specific congregation. That's it.
Yeah, it's interesting because like the context of this is there were a lot of other competing visions for what Christianity was and for who Jesus was. And so Paul is always talking about these other Christians he doesn't want people to listen to. And
Yeah.
so the idea that everyone was united is just wrong.
Yeah, like literally wrong. In the Bible, wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's against the Bible narrative. You're totally correct. Yeah.
It'd be much more impressive if all these disparate congregations were all unified in their faith without Peter and Paul and these letters being necessary. Like it'd be amazing.
Yeah.
If Paul just wrote, "Yeah, I went to this congregation, and they were completely in line with everything that we were teaching, and I didn't have to do anything, any corrections or anything like that." And then over and over and over again, that would be much more impressive than, these guys running everywhere trying to keep things together and are in constant disagreement with each other.
And
Yeah.
it would make sense, wouldn't it? Because the Holy Spirit was poured out. People had little flames on their heads and everything.
Yeah.
So the Spirit could have organized independently of any humans having to write letters on parchments, some of which are dubious in their authorship.
Yeah.
How could someone apply this
if
directly?
anybody, if that's a new concept to anybody, you can look it up. You can look up things like the synoptic problem, which deals with the Gospels and how we have strong evidence that Gospels copied Mark, or all the Gospels copied some other hypothetical source. But then also you can actually look into like the letters and which of the New Testament letters can be attributed to the actual people who supposedly wrote them and which ones are fake. I think over half of the New Testament letters are considered forgeries, like not actually written by the people that are that have their names on there. It's fascinating stuff. And
I
recommend reading it.
I really enjoyed going through that when I was deconstructing just letters that, and it's not even something that's like you have to be an atheist to believe this. This is mainstream accepted Bible scholarship that many of the letters that claim to be written by Paul simply were not, because it was just somebody wanting to get across their doctrine. And so they said it was Paul who did it. And, there weren't a lot of ways to double check things back then. All right, I'm going to play a little bit more. I feel like they couldn't have made this congregation less appealing if they tried, to be honest with you.
On spiritual matters.
Super sanitized.
Creepy.
How could someone apply this direction if his or her worship was independent and detached from others?
Ah, great point. There's
The
no way to
biblical-
communicate with like-minded people in this day and age, so it would be impossible.
Evidence clearly shows that God wants you to serve him and offer him praise
Clearly.
as a part of his congregation of people. He wants you to meet and worship alongside people who truly care about one another
What was that?
and who, like you, are interested in learning more about
I don't want to body shame or shame anybody, but if we're looking for like an aspirational figure, like you should be like this guy. I don't know if this is the guy, because he just kind of seems like
They should have had him scraggly haired, beard, like hippie spiritual type, and then transition to clean cut salesman.
I think that they very intentionally didn't do that because they want to visually get across the sense that you're accepted as you are, but you're actually only accepted as you are if you look like me and you just are white and have glasses and already just kind of look like a Jehovah's Witness.
That does look like Buster Booth, Jenny. It does.
It does.
But you may
I want him to hold up a
if there's
hook
an
hand.
organized religion God approves of. How can I find it today?
Army had half a day.
To learn more about what the Bible says on this and many other topics,
Yeah, what does the Bible say about joining Jehovah's Witnesses specifically, I wonder?
That's a beautiful
Good
cherry
Lord.
picking. Like they appealed to Abraham, they appealed to the Israelites, and they appealed to the first century Christians. And they said that, well, first of all, Abraham didn't congregate because he had a tribe and that was it. He was the guy in charge.
Yeah.
And everyone's going to worship what he says they should worship. The Israelites in general, yeah, they were together, and sure, they worshiped together. They also did other things too, like invade other nations. Like, should we follow their example on that? And then you get first century Christians, and then, you know, like we mentioned before, how they weren't really unified in their beliefs. They had some certain guys running around desperately trying to keep them all together and in line.
That's another fun thing to do a deep dive on, is just different kinds of Christianity back in the first century.
Yeah, and how did that go? Like, immediately we have like dozens and then hundreds of factions that don't agree with each other, and now we have thousands today. Like, they obviously failed in their effort to keep things unified.
Yeah, and something that I've discovered, obviously didn't know this when I was a witness because I wouldn't have wanted to look this up, but, you know, the Mormons make the same exact appeal, that they are the group that is reinstituting pure worship that was lost after the first century, but they just say that Joseph Smith is the person who rediscovered the path instead of Jehovah's Witnesses, who say that Russell and his associates rediscovered it, and it's the same exact thing. And the Mormons are much better at making the pitch too, I think. Like, they'll actually do interviews with their celebrity people and put them on YouTube so that people can find them. I don't know. So I think this is bad. I don't think this is gonna be super effective, TBH.
No, I mean, it really feels like they just post videos just for the sake of posting videos nowadays. You know, like, it really reminds me to like some ex-Jehovah's Witnesses that just like post videos. They just seem like post videos for the sake of just posting videos.
Hang on a second.
I highly doubt.
I'm talking about me. I'm talking about me. That's what I'm doing.
Hey, you're better than me. I don't even post videos anymore. But like that video is definitely tailored for somebody who's already in, somebody who's like, well, why do I have to go to the meetings? Why do I have to go out and serve? Why do I have to hang out with these people that I have no other common interests with other than the religion? Like, this video is catered for them. I can willing to bet money, guarantee you that nobody on the outside is watching this video and going, oh, I should join this religious group because they said I should.
There's like a few.
It's not for outsiders.
You have to be a few steps down that road to be persuaded by that.
But this helps keep that kind of like myth in the Jehovah's Witnesses that they're still doing videos and they're still because I feel like Jehovah's Witnesses have like this. They have this belief that people still like come in, and they believe like this is how and why people come in, and they believe that it's just the videos that make them come in. But that has not been the case like for a few decades. It's just like the belief that they still have that this still works, which is why it looks like it's not really made for anybody.
The number one way. The number one way that anybody joins any religion is because of like a person in their real life makes a connection with them. That's like still the main way that most people join any religion. And that's kind of a tricky thing with Jehovah's Witnesses because they are so insular and so removed from society in a way that maybe the Mormons aren't, who are able to go to like get a college degree and work in a professional field. Like they're maybe able to make a more like legitimate pitch to like, look how happy our families are. You know, I don't think that Mormon families are like especially happy or whatever, but
there are some majorly fucked up Mormon families.
I just think that like witnesses, the leadership understands that there is this this untapped market of religious nuns, people with no religious affiliation, but they don't understand how to like credibly make this case to them that their religion is worth joining. So yeah, I agree. This kind of seems like you'd have to already be kind of down the road a bit with witnesses to
either already be down the road, be already in, you want that reinforced, or I mean otherwise you'd have to be extremely susceptible and gullible to just the lightest of religious propaganda. Because like this is not persuasive at all, because they don't establish anything about, you know, why you should listen to what they have to say, why you should listen to what the Bible has to say, or even why, like even if it is true that there is a God and God wants you to congregate and be together, they don't explain why it's them. It's extremely vapid. There's nothing there.
Well said. All right, I want to watch this Lett video. Now, if anybody has to go, that's fine. I know we've been going for a while here, but I want to watch this.
I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good. I can do one more video.
We're going to do one more. We're going to close it out strong if this page ever loads. All right, good. and I have a feeling this is going to be absolutely infuriating. Why did Israel go to war, but why don't Christians today? Oy vey. So I think we're going to be seeing something that invariably triggers me, which is justifications of biblical violence.
Yep.
I despise this.
Now, there is this saying
There's no
that
sound.
war
Oh, okay.
can't kill love, but love can kill war. And Jehovah's Witnesses truly exemplify that saying. All of man's horrible wars have not killed off the love of Jehovah's people. In fact, made it stronger.
Or anybody's
And
people
yet
anywhere.
Their love has killed off war among their ranks and even from within their hearts.
But not theocratic war.
1 John 3.
Not theocratic warfare.
I'm about practical war here, folks. Let's not get this confused. Practical
No,
war.
no.
Not theocratic
And
war.
like there is going to be the Great War of Armageddon, in which
Yeah.
Stephen Lett specifically will be trained on how to do heaven war and fight soldiers and tanks and stuff. But like for the most part, war, like we don't get conscripted to the army and stuff.
10 through 12, in essence, says the children of God and the children of the devil are evident by this fact. The children of God love their brothers. The children of the devil slaughter their brothers like Cain slaughtered his brother.
Wow.
But sometimes in the ministry and
What do we do with people who aren't a believer in God or anything, but also are pacifists and don't go to war or conscientious objectors? Is that
Well, they're bad because they're
are
not
we
for
still children
Jehovah.
of God?
You're either for Jehovah or against Jehovah. It's like kind of a George W. Bush situation. You're either for them or you're against them. There's no
Yeah.
in between.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, black and white thinking. They don't like the in between.
in other places, when we try to bring up our stand regarding not participating in
my
war,
God, his
our
eyes.
Christian neutrality,
Yes.
All right, everybody. I want you to do something. I want you to do a staring contest with Stephen Lett. I want you to see if you can look into this man's vacuous mannequin face and not see the abyss staring back at you.
Gaze upon
Impossible
Libya,
challenge.
folks.
the ministry and other places, when we try to bring up our stand regarding not participating in war, our Christian neutrality,
No.
people will bring up the objection about the Israelites. They'll say,
Blink,
well, they were God's
goddammit.
people. They fought war, so why can't Christians
Blink!
fight in wars?
Oh, okay. He did it. He blinked a little bit just once. I hated that.
Oh man.
Well, this is interesting. He's bringing up a legitimate objection that somebody might bring up. They don't always do that. There's a lot of war in the Bible. Israelites went to war. Why can't Christians fight in wars? I gotta say, I don't find many people who are like super excited about fighting in wars these days.
Yeah,
They're
that's
like,
not that's
what are
not
you
the
talking
main
about?
thing that people go for after Jehovah's Witnesses
Yeah.
for. Like that.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
think
why-
Fighting in wars is
this
awesome.
This plays on. Yeah, this
why I
plays on the
left.
narrative of what Jehovah's Witnesses think will happen and is happening, and how the Jehovah's Witnesses think the world works. But this is not the way that the world works. The world isn't like, oh, be a Jehovah's Witness, but it's just you don't join wars like the Israelites. So I don't like no, that's not a thing.
Yeah, I don't know. Like even Christian nationalists and people who like Christians who are willing to go to war, I think that they view war as a necessary evil and probably envision that God's kingdom and his theocracy will get rid of war as we know it. I don't know.
I
That
mean,
might not
the
be
only
true.
ones who get excited about war and genocide and all that shit is Jehovah's Witnesses. Like those are the only ones who like think about Armageddon and rejoice. Oh my god,
Armageddon is good news, they say.
You need to play that because Stephen Lett is just staring into my soul.
Armageddon is good news.
How do you deal with that argument? Well, if you're going to overcome that, you obviously have to show them there's a vast difference between
vast
the
difference.
Israelites in Bible times and true Christians today. In fact, let's
one
briefly
moment
discuss
here.
five different.
Let's take. He's saying it's an argument that's because the Israelites did this. Why aren't we doing it? And yes, that's the argument they used for the previous video, that the Israelites did this, therefore we should do this. So while we listen to this, let's recontextualize the argument to what was made in the previous video and see maybe there's some contradictions in what he says here. Maybe he's got some double standards going on here. Maybe. We'll see.
Great point. Great point. We just watched a video where the Israelites did it, so should you, was the key argument.
Yes.
And now...
Okay,
Yeah.
but there's
And now-
5 differences.
Yeah.
A numbered list.
Differences. Number one, in the days of the Israelites, God's people were gathered into one nation. So when they went into battle against the pagan nations, they weren't killing fellow believers. They weren't killing their brothers.
They were killing
But today,
infidels.
No
Revelation
problem.
7:9
we'll
says
go to
that the
war and
great
we won't
crowd
kill
of-
believers. No problem.
Yeah.
There's lots of non-believers to kill.
No problem.
Yeah.
Plus, I mean, listen, isn't the main difference that just God told them that they had to do it? That back then, if you believe the Bible is true, that it was just God constantly saying, hey, you got to go over there and kill those people. And
Yeah.
so what are you going to do? Say no to God? Like, that's the difference.
Technically, it was a guy saying God said it. That's
And
really
yeah,
what it
exactly.
is.
We know that. But
Yeah.
they, from their logic, would say, well, God told him to.
true
Yes.
Christians is scattered in all nations, tribes,
the
peoples,
nations.
and tongues.
Uh-huh.
So if Christians participated in war today, what would happen? We would end up killing fellow believers, our brothers. And of course, we know that is happening among ones who claim to be God's people
Whoa.
who take up the sword.
And that's a
we
bad thing
find
about killing
Catholic,
people. Like
killing-
you can kill people if they don't believe what you believe in. But if they believe what you believe in,
Mhm.
that's when killing is wrong. So
That would be bad.
Have you thought
you
of
might
that?
accidentally kill a Jehovah's Witness, if you do the wrong kind of war. This is a pretty weak argument, I would
Yeah,
say.
it's not the killing.
Ooh.
It's not the killing part. It's the you might accidentally kill someone who's like you, which is
I remember
completely twisted.
at Patterson, I think it was. I went on like Bethel tours probably in like 2013 or something. No. It was when they were building Warwick and stuff. So this was like 2016 or something. They had this experience about like 2 brothers who went to war against their will or something. They felt bad about it, and they were on the battlefield, and they were about to kill each other, and then they realized that they were both Jehovah's Witnesses, so they didn't, and they just dropped their guns and embraced. Isn't that beautiful?
That definitely happened.
It totally happened, and everyone clapped in heaven.
Their fellow
You read about that
Catholics,
in Job.
we find the same thing among the Methodists, the Baptists, Muslims,
Wow.
slaughtering members of their own religion.
Hey, you know what you'll also find is a lot of Catholics and Muslims and Baptists who are also anti-war and who don't go to war.
Yep.
Like, they're not a monolith. There are still, like, people, regardless of religion or not being religious at all, who are anti-war.
Makes me think of a conversation I had many
Makes me
years
think of the
ago
old Cherokee.
with a high-ranking Mormon elder.
What?
And I asked him, I said, well, what is your position on war?
High
He
ranking.
said, we don't like war. I said, but what do you do, though? If you're living in a country at a time, there's a draft, you're drafted into the military. He said, well, if the government makes us do it, it's their responsibility. We go ahead and fight. I said, do you then kill another Mormon on the battlefield? Because I know you have Mormons in many different countries. He said, well, if I knew he was a Mormon, I'd let him go.
Gotcha.
I said, but normally it's not possible to check with each person before you shoot them.
Wow. Stephen Lett destroys Mormon elder with
Got him.
facts and logic.
Got it.
No, like play just a little bit. Play the next sentence that he says.
Okay. Ha ha ha.
Well, he didn't admit it, but obviously he got the point that was made there.
I love that
Wow.
even in his story, he didn't convince anybody. Like this is his story.
He didn't quite get it,
He's
but
the
I was
governing
right.
body member, and even in his story, he's like, "Well, I mean, I didn't convince him." it's just so stupid, and also it is extra stupid because, first of all, because of that face, like wonderful pause face, but second, because because Jehovah's Witnesses believe that the one person who can kill people that Jehovah wants to resurrect is Jehovah. Like if
Yeah,
Jehovah does
yeah.
that, like with Sodom and Gomorrah and all of that shit. Well, we don't know. Like, Jehovah destroyed them, but like we don't know. Like he may bring him back, But if you do it, like that's bad, right? Like, Jehovah is only happy when he accidentally kills people that he doesn't want to kill. You're not allowed to make that mistake.
Remember,
Well,
folks, what Danny just said there. Remember, folks, true worshipers let God do the killing, unless you're Israelites.
Yes.
In that case, you do the killing. But
unless he tells you that
nowadays,
you can do it.
Nowadays, God does the killing.
That's exactly right. Now, what if he talked to an elder of a Jain church, or a religion that defines themselves by not going to war?
Yeah.
I guess he wouldn't have had such a cool story to tell.
Second difference, Jehovah God, who can read hearts, personally judged as worthy of execution.
Oh, wait, can you pause?
The people the Israelites went up against.
Oh, yeah.
I just want to talk about like this comment that you just got from Jay. As much as I dislike the guy, that comment on the Mormon leader was on point. I disagree with that. I believe, I think it would be a far more, it would speak to a far more powerful God if you believe that you, as say a Mormon, can go to war against like another country that also has Mormons, and God will protect you both because you're part of God's like chosen people, right? So you're like, no, it's fine because God wouldn't allow me to kill like a fellow Mormon, at least a fellow Mormon that wouldn't deserve it. I feel like that speaks to a far better God than the God that Stephen Lett is like, oh, we can't do it because only God is allowed to kill people accidentally. Like I feel like that's a weaker God. I don't know. I'm just saying.
It would be. I agree. It would be. I absolutely agree. It'd be far more impressive if you are a true Christian and you have to go to war because hey, Nazis are rampaging. You have to go to war. You got to stop them. You say a little prayer, and then you look up and you see arrows pointing down to all the non-Christians. You're like, oh, I'll just shoot those guys. Okay.
Yeah, well, God would just direct your shooting, and you won't shoot to somebody who doesn't deserve it. That's it.
Yeah, just spray up into the sky, and each bullet, like Fifth Element, just boom, go to their targets, and
exactly.
Or like that kind of auto aim.
God doesn't exist, you guys.
I know.
It is almost like that. No, but God is able to see who is worthy of being executed. Sounds like an awesome God. Who deserves to be executed?
He directly told them to execute his judgment on these demon-worshiping people.
Including women and children, by the way.
Included gross sexual immorality, even child sacrifice. Open up to Leviticus.
Whoa. But also, like...
Talking about those Midianites.
I was say God allowed the rape of women too, so I'm just gonna skip a little bit
on these people. Now here's our third difference: the Israelite wars kill selectively.
No,
so we have just two examples of many that could be related.
It was very selective.
Joshua chapters.
It was the men.
What's that?
It was very selective. It was the men, the women, the male children, and only the daughters who were virgins. Or I'm sorry, they were not virgins. Those were that was the selective killing.
But because if they're virgins, you can just keep to yourself. As Stephen Lett is going to say, it's going to be like it was a very loving provision.
It was very loving provision.
That's valuable property in Bible times.
Letting those deeply traumatized little girls be captured and brought into.
Oh, he's gonna get to it.
The tribe that destroyed their family and their tribe. Yeah,
it was a loving arrangement.
Very loving.
Shows that Rahab and her entire household were miraculously spared. Why?
Jericho?
Because Rahab exercised faith in Jehovah.
Isn't Rahab?
Or what about
prostitute?
Joshua chapters 9 and 10? Talks about how Jehovah spared the Gibeonites, who were actually in line for destruction because they exercised faith in Jehovah. Now, that's just a couple of examples. But
so if you exercise faith in Jehovah, then it's fine. You can go to war, and you'll be fine. You'll be dandy. Like that's the solution, right? Every single pause phase. Like what is wrong with Stephen? Every single time you pause, it's like just doing the most ridiculous face ever.
Gosh, Max, the Gideonites didn't have to be spared, but God spared them. I just think he sounds like Goofy a little bit.
Are people spared because of their obedience and faith? No.
Well, they could be, though.
The civilian
are people spared because of their obedience and faith? They could be if God wanted that to be.
Exactly.
The only reason it's no.
Like God didn't care about that.
Yeah. The only reason it's no is God doesn't care, or he doesn't exist.
We're all over here complaining about world leaders who allow and proliferate wars, but really God could just clear all of this up and all wars and all genocides immediately.
Yeah.
So,
in one of my videos on my channel, I was talking about how I could solve Midianite problem much better than God could in non-violent, non-bloody ways, and far more impressive. Like and that was just something that's off the cuff. I was like, I came with a better solution than God did here.
Yeah.
And so I was like,
With
does that mean I'm better than God, or does that mean I'm just better than the guy who thought he was writing about God?
The fact that you could even think something like that just proves how haughty you are, that you can't see that there is some magical, invisible reason why it was perfectly fine for God to allow all those people to be murdered.
I'm just blinded by pride.
You think you're superior, and you would have written a better book. Like I bet you think in your high mighty horse that, if I would have written the Bible, I would have said not to force yourself on anybody, instead of adding 2 times how important it is that you shouldn't cook a calf in its mother's milk.
Yep.
That you don't have your preference, like your priorities is set up straight. Like, no,
you're absolutely correct. I need to step back and focus inward, and not let my moral outrage get in the way of me worshiping this one true God.
Yeah. I would have. You shouldn't own other people. Come on.
Oh, God could have just snapped his fingers and killed everyone painlessly. Like, no, that wouldn't have been as cool as if you get to let a bunch of guys murder people with swords.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, if I do a flood to kill all of the bad people, then it would have worked, because no bad people would have existed afterward. Like, no, you have to do a flood, you have to do an apocalypse, and then it has to not work. So people are like, I mean, Armageddon is gonna come, but like, maybe it doesn't work, maybe it's also like a little oopsie again.
Good comment from the governor here. I'm probably one of the few XJWs that spent 20 years in the armed forces. There are perfectly legitimate reasons to fight a war. Start with World War II and the Nazis. Yeah. What if you live in Ukraine? Yeah, I mean, if a imperialist nation starts occupying you, and then you should defend yourself.
Yeah, like what if you live in Palestine, right? I mean, what?
Exactly. What? Yes, if you're living under occupation and you're being bombed and stuff, whatever. Ideally, war wouldn't exist, but I don't believe in a magic god that could stop all wars. Yeah. So I don't have this problem that Stephen Lett has.
Obviously,
I don't have a lot of problems that he has.
Obviously, war is bad, and you don't want to kill anybody, but we live in the world that we live in, and if you have a military force coming in to destroy you or to take over, and you have to defend yourself.
Every now and then you gotta kill some people. Like you gotta do it. Like you're not happy about it, but you gotta do it.
If somebody busts into my house, I am setting both my corgis on them, and so
that's right. Oh my God, the wrath of Peaches and Bo.
That's too much. That is too much, actually.
2 corgis.
Greater than the soldier casualties when they drop their bombs. The collateral damage, as they call it, often results in substantial death of innocent people.
Want to talk about collateral damage? What about Jericho?
The Israelite
Sodom and
Jericho was the equivalent of dropping an atom bomb on a city. I mean, it's like collateral damage.
Stephen Lett believes that Jehovah has collateral damage because some people who he destroyed maybe risen up in paradise again. So even Jehovah did collateral damage.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah,
Lett doesn't believe this shit.
Excellent point.
Thanks to Rocket.
Jehovah's Witness literally makes no sense. You can literally find a contradiction with anything that they say if you just look hard enough. That's it.
Can you still hear me? Bo is trying to unplug my microphone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we hear you.
He's really going at that.
Soldiers were required to conduct their warfare according to Jehovah's guidelines.
Kill the non-virgins, take the virgins for yourself. Yeah, that's a guideline from Jehovah.
Open up to Deuteronomy chapter 23, please.
Oh yeah, some of the best 23. Wars. Deuteronomy.
And notice what Jehovah told the Israelite army, the
Let's
soldiers.
read my cherry pick scripture.
Deuteronomy 23, beginning in verse 9.
You're going to love this.
When you are encamped against your enemies, you should avoid anything bad. Look at verse 12.
Wow. Oh, he skipped
so
over.
specific.
Place should be designated for use outside the camp.
Hey, what if you think that killing people is bad? Are you allowed to avoid that?
No. Go out there and relieve themselves. See, why? Look at verse 14. Go out there. A private place should be designated for use outside the camp. They would go out there and relieve themselves. See,
what?
Yeah,
These
cats do this.
Taking a shit?
Yeah, poop is stinky. Even cats.
Yeah,
know
poop
this.
is bad. Like, it was a clean place, literally, because you're not
Godly
gonna poop in your bed.
latrines. Wow, this is interesting. Didn't expect poop
Why?
content.
Look
from
at verse
Lett.
14.
He's skipping
For
a lot.
Jehovah your God
Oh,
is walking about within your camp to
But not
deliver
really.
you and to hand over your enemies to you.
not really.
And your camp must be holy, so that he does not see anything indecent in you and turn away from accompanying you.
Oh,
Yes,
how
Jehovah
nice.
required cleanliness among these Israelite soldiers.
Well, that's the
Yeah.
concern that a lot of people have is, well, war,
Yes, of course.
there's so many germs. Where are they going to poop?
No, but look, I just want to read you this because I watched this yesterday and I read this in my live stream because Stephen Lett is making a huge deal about like the high standard, like Israelites were the most moral army on earth. You wouldn't even know about how moral they were. Like they always were amazing. They followed Jehovah's standards. But if you read Deuteronomy chapter 21. Verse 10 to 13. It says, when you go to war, this is literally what Jehovah told the Israelites that they should do. This is Jehovah's standards about war. When you go to war against your enemies and the Lord your God delivers them into your hands and you take captives. If you notice among the captives a beautiful woman and are attracted to her, you may take her as your wife. But look, you can't
Did you
just
say
take her as
Deuteronomy
your wife.
21?
Okay? Deuteronomy 21, verse 11. I'm at.
Okay.
The 12 says, bring her into your home and have her shave her head, trim her nails, and put aside the clothes she was wearing when captured. Because obviously, like you need to clean her up. It's about cleanliness, right?
That's right.
After she has lived in your house and mourn her father and mourn for a full month, then you may go to her and be her husband, and she shall be your wife. Because, like how beautiful it is. How beautiful it is that when you take hostages and you're like, hey, I want to force myself on this lady. This lady who's a virgin, who's a young virgin, kind of makes my balls tickle a little bit. And then in the last provision in chapter 14, it says, I'm reading the New International Version, by the way, so there may be a little difference, but it's fine because that way Jehovah's Witnesses can see that. The Jehovah's Witness Bible also says that. The 14th verse, the last one. If you are not pleased with her, let her go wherever she wishes. You must not sell her or treat her as a slave, since you have dishonored her. Since you fucked her, she's damaged goods. So you can fuck like somebody that you capture as a captive, and then you can just grab her, make her your wife, consummate, and then if you don't like it, just leave her. You can't sell her as a slave though, because that's already fucked. Like literally, because that's your property. Like, but you have to like let her go as your. That is what Stephen Lett is talking about. Like Jehovah's like amazing righteous standards for war. Like this is what Stephen Lett thinks. It made war okay then, but makes war not okay now. Like, which is just very stupid.
Yeah, he skipped over a lot in his selective readings.
Because actually they were sanctified.
Let's just talk
warfare.
about how they
now,
bury their poop though.
I know, right? Well, it
That's
was very
important.
clean.
What about soldiers today? Obviously, very different. In fact, the
they don't
Insight
poop in
book
the right
Oh, I was
places.
muted.
about how that
really
they
quick. Really quick, I wanted to just kind of work off something Danny just said there. Let's imagine the governing body was back in the Israelite times, and they're making these videos to guide the Israelites in these things. And let's make an internal training video about what to do when the girl you captured after 30 days doesn't want to cooperate with becoming your wife.
Yeah, do like a
let's
nice
just
Bethel training video.
Imagine that working it out. Like, it's been 30 days and you're still hung up on the fact that I killed your family and burned your village to the ground. Come on, let's open this scroll and read this scripture.
And you got this sleepy guy like, I understand why you would be upset by that, but
it would be poorly
you
paced.
might find encouraging.
It would be poorly paced and devoid of any energy or charisma. Just an awkward pause, like,
yes.
It
can be hard when the wife that you took because you find hot does not put out. It can be hard. I understand.
Yeah.
The virgin Midianites versus the Chad Israelites.
Elder Abraham, my slave girl's constantly trying to escape. What do I do?
Just stone her. Don't worry about it.
Just leave
To
her.
be honest, Brother Abraham, we have been struggling since this transition to having a third wife in the house.
We all,
Certainly
and folks
not
in the
allowed.
audience, obviously we know this. We laugh at this because it's how we cope with these atrocities that they're trying to like put forward as this is holy. You know, like obviously we're not laughing at this. We're laughing at the idea that this is being propped up as holy.
Yeah, the absurdity of it. I mean, thankfully none of this actually happened, so it's fine.
Yes,
In fact,
thankfully.
the Insight book talks about how that they were certainly not allowed to rape any of the conquered cities' women.
Well, that's
aren't they?
a lie.
Aren't they? Did
That's
we
a
just read that?
lie.
Did we just read that? We could just notice how he doesn't quote anything because he can't, because that's not a thing in the Bible.
Yeah, he references the Insight book offhandedly. In fact, they couldn't even marry such a woman for 1 month. Wow, they had to wait a whole month after killing her whole
Yeah,
family.
they couldn't even
that's what
marry
he's
such
quoting.
a woman
We
for 1 month.
murdered their
Page
families.
170.
We murdered these girls' families, but rape is just going over the line. Like that's
No.
yeah, obviously.
It's like he really wants me to make an edit of this video. I have just throwing out a word like that.
53 of the Insight book,
free.
you can get a lot of Jehovah's guidelines that he gave to the Israelite soldiers. Now, one more
Also, just get it
difference.
from the Bible.
Jehovah fought with the Israelites, giving them miraculous victories.
Unless
again,
there
we'll
was
just
too many
give two
cow pies
examples.
on the floor, on the ground in the camp, and then he wouldn't fight with them.
Unless they were too messy, and then he wouldn't help them.
Of many that could be related. How was the Battle of Jericho won?
Many. We could cite many
Well,
examples,
the
of
priests
course.
blew horns. The military force marched. The army shouted, and the walls fell flat. Jehovah gave them that victory.
His face is
Or what about
fucked.
the victory of the Gibeonites, the victory over the kings that attacked them?
Is he a little uncomfortable
Joshua
about
10:11
lying?
says, Jehovah hurled great hailstones from the sky, so that more died from the hail than from the sword of the Israelites.
But there wasn't no death from the Israelites. He didn't spare his people the trauma of having to murder people on his behalf, let alone the actual people who were murdered.
And also, some of the people that he killed with hail may get resurrected in Armageddon. Like, we don't know.
Yeah, we learned that recently.
Welcome
Some of
back.
them were killed accidentally.
Welcome back. What's the last thing you remember? Made me get hit in the face with a gigantic hailstone from God.
Oh my God, Jenny Bloom, I don't know why my 14-year-old wife keeps crying. It's been 2 months since I killed her family and her hair is starting to grow back as she broke in her... I forgot the detail that they shave her head. Jesus.
It's true.
Well, unlike today, Jehovah fought with the Israelites. So there we have 5 differences.
It
In the
really
days
is
of the
night and day, isn't
Israelites,
it?
See, unlike today, God's people were gathered in one nation. So they didn't go up against their brothers when they went into war. And secondly, Jehovah personally judged those executed as worthy of such. Third, the
Except for the
Israelite
ones we
wars
didn't.
were
Yeah, except for the ones coming
killings
back.
only selected.
Yeah, I mean, this was
Worthy of
the whole
execution.
point.
Worthy of execution, and then worthy of resurrection.
Yeah, because this is the whole point of
What a
like
flip-flop.
the last annual meeting was them saying like we can't be so dogmatic as to say that nobody from Sodom and Gomorrah is going to get resurrected. We don't know that. Maybe some people who died in the flood were just, collateral damage and
They
didn't
pick the
need to,
worst things to not be dogmatic on.
But yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
Definitively.
It really contradicts
And 4,
itself.
the Israelite soldiers were required to conduct their warfare according to Jehovah's strict guidelines.
Regarding poop,
And number 5, Jehovah fought with the Israelites,
sometimes
giving them
kind of.
miraculous victories.
Unless
Again,
you could
they
really
were-
say,
Unless they
that
were up
the-
against iron chariots. Then,
Yeah,
Yeah, they couldn't stand against those.
yeah.
the Israelite wars were holy wars, but
Oh,
the wars of
that
today's
changed everything.
wicked world are anything but holy. No wonder
point. Great
Jesus
point.
said that theocratic warfare would no longer include the use of physical weapons.
just
Remember what he
lies.
said in Matthew 26:52? He said, those that take up the sword will die, perish by the sword. And he taught his followers.
And then later in Revelation,
to harm
he
them.
returns with a sword.
Yeah, and in fact, they just did a whole big presentation where they depict Jesus with a gigantic sword, like coming after tanks.
Yeah,
and
it comes out of his
helicopters
mouth, right? He has a sword protruding from his mouth.
and stuff. No,
That's in Revelation,
he's-
right?
Well, that's in
Yeah.
Revelation. The thing that they painted didn't have that awesome part of it, unfortunately. But
No,
yeah.
they put the sword in his hand, which I'm like, that's not biblically accurate.
Jehovah's hands.
It's supposed to be coming out of his mouth, man. Like, it never hands a sword.
Well, we did it, folks. We really did it. We learned the truth. I think we're all convinced.
I feel so much closer to God now. Thank you, Steve.
The whole truth and nothing but the truth.
Oh my God. Well, that was. I'm glad that I had support. I had friends to watch that with, because that was a lot. That was a lot, but it went by like a breeze. Mm-hmm. Eric, where can people follow you and see you on the internet and stuff?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I had a good time, Jake and Danny. Really appreciate it. I think this is the first time Danny and I've been on stream together. So yeah, it's been.
Yeah, that's
had
true.
a good time. Yeah, it was really fun.
Yeah.
So my channel's called Skeptics and Scoundrels. I do virtually nothing there. I do plan to start it back up again soon once life allows me to. But you can usually catch me over on the line though. I appear there about twice a month. Just the Sunday call-in show. I'll usually be with folks like Matt Dillahunty or Apologia or Jimmy Snow, others. And I do believe that we have an upcoming. Let me pull it up really quick, just so I got my facts straight. On the 30th, I'll be appearing on the line with Owen Morgan, so another fellow XJW. Cool. I'm not sure what we're doing, but it's going to be an XJW extravaganza over there on the 30th. And it's great, I think. XJWs are massively overrepresented on the line now because, I mean, like Jehovah's Witnesses are like 8 million people out of 8 billion. And then we have 2 of them on the line. So massively overrepresented. I love it.
That's great.
Tune in for that. So yeah, thanks. I appreciate it.
Oh,
that's
very
awesome.
Nice.
Yep.
Danny, what about you? Who the hell are you? Where can people find you? What's your deal?
People can find me by looking up XJW Caleb on anywhere and then just clicking the first link that they find. And hopefully they didn't look that up like in a porn website. So it's a proper like. I am extending my. Yeah, I'm extending. I'm gonna start to post in like X videos and like. All of that stuff, because you know, like you don't know, like, you know, like maybe you post not clarity, like you're like, wait, Jehovah's Witness or not their truth, like you're like, oh, maybe I should go, like I don't know, maybe there's something there, but I'm mostly in on YouTube. I post videos like all of the time. Right now I'm working on a huge project, and not because, you know, it's huge for people. It's just because it's huge for like me. The biggest thing that I've done, I'm starting a lawsuit against the Jehovah's Witnesses here in Mexico. I'm building the video still. It's going to take a while, but I'm also going to let you guys know how to do it in your country, because sometimes it's just a matter of sending an email and doing sending to the right person at the right time. And I'm basically like building that resource so people can just do that, so they can do like they don't just listen to rebuttals, but they can actually get involved in what I consider to be proper activism. So yeah, you know, you can go over there to see how I fail at doing that. I guess.
Well, that's great. Well, thank you so much, guys. I'm going to kick you off so I can talk bad behind your backs.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye. All right. Now that those assholes are gone, I can say what I really think. No, not really. Check out my Substack. I just published something on Substack today. I don't remember how to access it or even what it's called, so I'll add a link in the description. My socials. Maybe I'll be on Blue Sky soon, or is that what it's called? Blue Sky? I don't know, but I've got a lot of videos coming. I can tell you that. I actually finished that Lost video that I've been talking about for a long time. It's up for patrons if you want to watch it. I'm kind of conflicted as to whether or not I want to post it just on my channel that, like, I have under my own name, or if I want to go through the trouble of starting a whole new YouTube channel. I don't know. But it's up for patrons if you want to watch an early cut of it. It might be edited as copyright strikes hit, because I show a lot of clips from the show Lost, of course. But yeah, we're doing stuff, man. Writing stuff and making videos about all kinds of things. And the next video I'll be uploading is about the real estate shenanigans the group is up to and the new governing body members. So, yeah, enjoy that. And I think we should go out with just a little statement from our good old friend Samuel Hurd.
Mommy, When I get out, call me Sammy.